This week on the Jock and Nerd podcast, we are ending the year and the decade with a full spoiler review of Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker.
Geekerific!
Dr. Adam Morris is back to bring the Star Wars knowledge as we discuss whether or not Star Wars sticks the landing on this 42-year Skywalker saga. All that in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Thursday, December 26th, 2019.
Hey, what's up? It's Taylor Gray, the voice of Ezra Bridger on Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast.
Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up.
Hey, this is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. Welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast with your hosts, Anthony.
I'm cooking a pot roast in my pants.
Imran.
What the shit is this?
And Rug Boy.
Put a bullet in me, Imran.
Comic book and superhero, TV and movie news, reviews.
It's really bad. It's actually pretty bad.
It's so fucking bad. It's dog shit on a hot day.
I love this movie so much.
Come on, Imran.
I think he'll surprise us.
And whatever they choose.
Let him see your small dick. We all know it's not big.
Fuck off.
The Jock and Nerd podcast. Remember, Batman's got your back.
Oh, yeah. Hello. What's up, listener? Thanks for hanging out with us this week, and welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast. Jock and Nerd. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
And over there is the cutest puppet in the galaxy. Cuter than Baby Yoda, all the Ewoks combined. It's Babu Ruggs. We call him Rug Boy, though. What's up, Ruggs?
I can fix these.
Is that what you're going to sound like, Ruggs, the whole episode?
No.
I think Baby...
I found that character funny.
I love Babu Frick. I think Baby Rug Boy, though, will break the internet once I put something together. Baby Rug Boy.
Oh, you're going to make a baby rug boy?
I have to. We got to capitalize on this. Also joining us is the science guy for the Jock and Nerd podcast, super Star Wars fan.
Because we're discussing space.
Because we're discussing space and time.
Right.
He's a Jedi master himself. What's up, Dr. Adam Morris, PhD?
Yes, gentlemen. Thank you for having me, and happy holidays to y'all.
I hope you brought your double-ended lightsaber for this review. You're going to need it.
Oh,
yeah.
What?
I said lightsaber, double-ended lightsaber. Get your mind out of the gutter. Adam, thank you so much for joining us to geek out some more about Star Wars, and for joining us on the last show of not only the year of 2019, but the last show of the decade. Oh, shit. This is the end. It'll be the roaring 20s soon. Again.
Whoa.
Which is pretty crazy. It's also, on the day we're recording, the Jock's birthday. Happy birthday, Anthony.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
How old are you today, Anthony?
Too old.
23, flipped around.
Oh,
No,
you feel 23.
wait a minute. I am so happy every year Anthony gets older, because he is going to start to feel.
How many years are going to have the podcast before he's the same age as you were when you started podcasting?
Oh my God. It'll be another 8-10 years. I don't know.
It'll be a long time.
Imran will be long dead.
I will be 83 years old when that happens.
Jesus.
Oh, shit.
Start this off being really morbid.
So it's the day after Christmas. That's Anthony's unfortunate. Is that a good birthday or a bad birthday, Anthony?
It was great as a child. If you're an only child, it's fantastic because you just get double.
Yeah.
And then as you get older, it just is stupid. Because now I don't really get anything, and no one really wants to celebrate anything. Everyone's kind of broke. Yeah,
Tired.
Sucks. Yeah, tired. No one really wants to do anything for my birthday.
It's also Boxing Day in Canada. So our Canadian listeners, happy Boxing Day. Adam Morris, what the fuck is that?
Boxing Day is kind of like it's equivalent to Black Friday. It's just madness at the malls. People line up overnight to get like door crasher specials on TVs that you could buy for $100 more. Like, you know, an hour later, people get trampled and stuff. But, I don't know. It's now Boxing Day is kind of, it's like, again, like Black Friday. It's extended into Boxing Week. So
now there's a whole week.
So I just don't deal with the madness. I just wait.
Wasn't that the tradition of like, they used to give the servants presents on the next day after Christmas or something?
It's a really good question, Rugby. I do not know the history of it. I just assumed it was like like a Black Friday, like they want to offload as much crap as they can. But you're probably right. There must be some kind of actual.
I thought that normal people had regular Christmas and their servants had Boxing Day.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. When I was a waiter at like a fine dining restaurant, Boxing Day was like the only day of the holidays we got off, and the servants definitely enjoyed that as much as we could.
Oh, shit. So maybe I'm right. Wow.
I would add that this is also not only my birthday, but Tony-Miss.
What's Tony-Miss? Is it a new holiday?
It is. It's the day after Christmas. I was born Tony-Miss. And Christmas is Tony-Miss Eve.
Tony-Miss Eve.
Tony-Miss, everyone.
Let me tell you about Tony, all right? Tony ruins lives.
I make this joke every year, and I get like 1 or 2 people that tell me I'm being very disrespectful, and but this is I've made this joke for about 5-6 years.
Disrespectful to made up shit.
Yeah, exactly. To what? The baby Jesus is crying himself to sleep. Like, really? Come on. Like,
listen, baby Jesus.
If you follow me on Instagram, there's a picture of my face photoshopped on a baby with a Christmas hat, writing on a bottle rocket. So.
I think this is a marketing issue, Anthony. You can figure out a way to market Tony-Miss. We could probably take over Christmas.
I hope to.
It could be bigger than Festivus.
I hope to. I hope to have a little like what is a manger? Is that what it is?
Yes, a manger.
Yeah, and then it's like Imran in like a shawl and then Rug Boy standing there and me in a little crib.
You know what? That's almost like one of my ideas for a baby Rug Boy T-shirt.
It's all happening.
Yeah, I think we'll put it together.
It's all coalescing around Tony-Miss.
Somebody in the nation can Photoshop this together for us.
And then you got Dr. Adam Morris saying none of this is real, science is real.
Enjoy your tales and stories, everyone.
Just remind anybody that gets pissed off at you that it was a pagan holiday to begin with, and there's no real religious aspect to it.
Came from space.
Yeah,
you just get Adam saying the Earth wasn't created in 7 days. It's impossible. Just lots of shit like that.
Baby Jesus, Anakin Skywalker, both immaculate conceptions. I'm
not saying it. I'm saying Adam would say it.
That's fine, man. I'm an atheist. I'm happy to discuss.
There you go.
Well, we're here to discuss Star Wars, but before we do, I got a letter. And usually we don't start with a letter, but this is very important. I love our fans. I love our feedback. I think this needs to be addressed. It reads, Dear Jock and Nerd.
Wait, who writes letters?
It came in the mail with a stamp. Okay, no, it was an email. It wasn't even an email. It was a Facebook message. I have a message. Dear Jock and Nerd. Usually I'd write you concerning things that are exclusively related to comic book and superhero movies. But I've reached a point where I'm desperate. I've tried literally dozens of products that promise to keep my pubic region free of unruly hair, but so far nothing works. I'm a mess down there. I think we can all agree there's nothing on earth more attractive than a nicely groomed pair of doodads. But so far, I know of no product on the market made specifically to keep that area looking great. Do you guys know of anything that can help? Please hurry, as golf season is fast approaching, and I'd like to be able to use the ball washer without being pointed at and ridiculed by everybody on the green. Signed, Baffled and Bushy in Buffalo.
Oh, shit.
Ruggs, can you help out BBB here? Do we know of any products?
The first thing I would think of in this digital age, I would think of an app that you could take a picture of your junk with and then it automatically cleans it up and makes it look nice.
Well, that's a good idea.
But until Manscaped comes up with that, they have the Lawnmower 2.0. And so if you act now, you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code BIGHEADS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping. So clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year. Go to manscaped.com and get the new Lawnmower 2.0 and have a nice freshly shaved Christmas.
Yeah.
I almost made it without practice.
I've also heard that if you clean up your nutsack, it cures vertigo. So there's that as well.
It cures. So if you're a little dizzy, it equals out your equilibrium.
Right.
I did
little
not know
inner
that.
ear is now cured.
I think it's great advice.
My mom is so proud, by the way. I told her about this.
I gotta throw in. I was with my aunt last night, and she doesn't really have a great concept of a podcast.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Let me listen to. Can I listen to that thing on your phone?"
Oh God!
So I played her the last episode, and it's me, and it starts with me doing the live ad read about balls and nicking your balls.
Yeah.
And she's just going, Anthony, Is that you? Are you talking about? Are you being serious? I'm like, let me get that phone back, please. This is Christmas.
Let me just
We
start
shouldn't
it
be talking
here.
about this. Yeah, maybe I should have thought about this before playing it right from the beginning.
Well, I have to say too that I love the new intro with Kevin Conroy, but holy shit, is it not safe for work? Like, it's as not safe for work as you get. You know?
No, this show is all. It says on on our website for mature audiences, not safe for work. Do not just. You have to be around special people to play this out loud.
This is ear porn. You just don't
definitely
open it up in front of people.
It's just for you, listener, to laugh privately and then share it later. Thanks to Manscaped, our sponsor for the month of December, and thanks to Big Heads Media Network for getting us this sponsorship. Let's get to the goddamn movie, you nerf herders.
The Jock and Nerd Podcast.
Oh, well, we're finally here. Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9. Spoilers, 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 y'all.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
The conclusion of a story, a saga that started 42 years ago in 1977. Chapter 9 of 9. Here's a bunch of numbers. Before we get to our opinions, here's some facts. This is the 11th live-action Star Wars movie. The 5th Star Wars movie from Disney since 2015.
Oh, shit.
That's a lot. The 5 in the last 4 or 5 years. Rotten Tomatoes wise, here's how this new trilogy breaks down. The Force Awakens sitting at 93%, the first part of this new trilogy, 8.27 out of 10, 93% critics, 86% fans. Everybody seemed to love that movie. The Last Jedi, 91% critics, 8.1 out of 10, 43% fans. A big split there. Now,
yeah, half the people liked it, half the people hated it.
Rise of Skywalker does a complete flip of The Last Jedi. 55% critics, 6.19 out of 10. Fans, 86%.
Oh, shit.
Making just confusing flip-floppy numbers. The 55% puts this at the second lowest Star Wars Rotten Tomatoes rating, just above Phantom Menace. Wow, Star Wars. What happened? Box office opening. There's some more numbers. Force Awakens opened at $247 million. I had these backwards. Force Awakens, 247 domestic opening. Last Jedi, 220. And I foolishly thought this number will go up. It did not. Rise of Skywalker opens domestically $176 million in the U.S. Doesn't even break 200 million. 374 million globally off a budget of $275 million. It is currently sitting at 485 million worldwide. I mean, it's probably going to get to 500, 600, maybe 700 easily just because of the name. It did bomb in China, but we've already discussed China doesn't give a fuck about Star Wars until Bob Iger goes over there and shoves it down their throats and say, "This is for you, China." Here's a new.
What does this tell you here? These numbers.
The trend is that the movies have been getting worse as it's been going on, and was any of this even necessary?
I just think that you could kind of quantify that there's like 50 million dudes or 50 million people who detested The Last Jedi so much that they didn't even show up, and then the other ones showed up to hate watch it.
Yep.
So,
but I mean, you have people showing up to watch the last of a thing, and it's always a big event when it comes out.
It's the opposite of what happened with Endgame.
Yes.
Yeah.
The crescendo at Endgame was huge and
kept going up.
You know, like the last three, not the last three, but the Black Panther, Infinity War, and Endgame being three of the last 5-6 movies that Marvel put out, and they're all breaking records, and then this one's just taking the opposite turn. It's still making a ton of money, but it's not making the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Well, you can see that The Force Awakens had 247, right?
Imran, yep.
So that it only dropped like 15 million or something from The Last Jedi. So this drop was like 50 million.
Yeah,
right?
then a huge
it's
drop.
A crazy drop.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be that drastic.
Anecdotally, I haven't heard a ton of hype around this one as much as the other two. So,
no, I mean, I've been asked about it a lot because obviously people know I'm a Star Wars junkie. So, but we talked about this a little bit, Joe and Imran and I. But I think they've had a really hard time with this new trilogy because they're trying to appeal to so many different fans, right? Like, again, they have the old school fans from the original trilogy, but they're completely different than the prequel fans. And I've met a number of people in their early 20s or mid 20s now who have told me they love the prequels. And those two things are so far apart that I don't think you can make something that really appeals to them all. But and then there's also this third group that seem to love Force Awakens, even though they didn't necessarily know a lot about the other ones. So again, I think you have these three groups of fans that they're trying to kind of tie in. And as you can see, like again, that flip between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, between the critic score and the fan scores, like that's, again, they tried to make the fans happy, but, made a critically panned movie. But anyway, it's just, I think it's, I think it's a near impossible task with a 9-movie series to make everybody happy, given that it started in the 70s.
What's your theory, Rose?
My theory is that a bunch of dudes brought their entire families, or a bunch of fans. I say dudes because I feel like a lot of the fandom initially was men, from when I was growing up. And there was girls too. I would say that they made up like a little bit more than a quarter, 30% of the fandom. But like, so all these older fans they're all grown up and they have families now. They took their whole families to see, The Force Awakens.
Right.
And then even though they hated the movie, now their kids like the movie.
Yeah.
And they had to go back. So all the guys that were without kids, all the people that are the fans that are without kids were like, fuck this movie. But then the ones that had kids were like, no, we have to take the whole family again to see it a second.
I think that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yes. I was going to say Star Wars, really, it's for the kids. The kids who grew up with the original trilogy are going to love that. Then you have the kids who grew up with the prequels and they will love anything no matter what. Now you have this generation, this new trilogy is for the kids right now. And they're going to grow up loving this shit as much.
They don't know the difference.
They don't know the difference. They're not going to realize it until later, like we all did. They're like, oh, there's a lot of plot holes and thin characters, but whatever. That's Star Wars. That's what it's all about.
Sorry, just last thing. Depending on the way you watch the movies too, like if you watch them in the original order, it's a totally different experience than watching it from the prequels through, because there's no twists if you watch it from the prequels through, no like surprises.
Yes,
but
if you watch it in like numerical order, all the big reveals are gone, so there's no point in doing that. This is a huge cast. I'm not going to read out the whole fucking cast. We'll talk to them as we get to them. But
we're going to talk to them?
I mean, talk about them. I'll call them too. I have some of their numbers in their DMs. We'll slide into their DMs. But notable, J.J. Abrams returning after making the first one. Colin Trevorrow originally was supposed to direct this movie. J.J. never intending to come back to Star Wars after doing Force Awakens. Directed by J.J. and written by Abrams and Chris Terrio. This name should be familiar to some people.
He writes all the bad movies that we don't like, right?
Absolutely. Chris Terrio. Also, who's hiring this guy?
He's got nude pictures of somebody fucking a donkey or a child.
And
that's why he keeps getting hired.
Somehow he's buddies with Snyder and Ben Affleck and J.J. Abrams. So Chris Terrio, before this, screenplay, Justice League. Before that, Batman versus Superman. And he also worked on a screenplay of Argo with Ben Affleck. And that's really it. Also, what's interesting is the next thing, it says Justice League Part 2 screenplay announced.
Oh, shit.
Apparently they're working on a part 2 and this motherfucker's going to write it and probably fuck it up also. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Let's just.
I don't know if that's accurate.
What? It's IMDb. It could just be in there.
I can tell when Chris Terrio is involved in a movie because the movie doesn't need to happen.
Yeah. Yes.
Because like every single thing that he ever writes, it's like completely like it's a paradox of itself.
It's kind of pointless. Let's start with our opening thoughts and discussions. Anthony is the least Star Wars casual.
And I saw it maybe less than 12 hours ago.
love this when you do the plot recaps about stuff that you're barely invested in. Can you do a plot recap of this fucking movie?
Okay.
This should be great.
It starts because where are we? They're Kylo Ren has killed Snoke from the last movie, and he's looking for. He realized that the Emperor's alive, right?
Yeah.
And he's looking for the Emperor because the Emperor wants to destroy the world, and he wants to find the Emperor to help do that. And then the other side with Rey's learning how to become a real great Jedi, and the rest of the other side is looking to stop them. That's basically it.
Sure,
that's the entire plot.
That's a good one.
It's been the entire plot for like 6 movies. The bad guys want to destroy the universe, and the good guys want to keep it.
But actually, Kylo's looking for the Emperor because he wants to destroy him because he's just
right.
power.
Well, first
he wants to kill him. He wants to kill him, but he wants to he wants his power too.
And thus you see the Chris Terrio writings begin because he wants to help him, but he wants to destroy him. Like everything is like undoes itself immediately.
Yeah,
it's true.
Look, before we get into details, Anthony, we walked out of this movie last night. What'd you think? Real quick, get it out.
As Imran mentioned, as I say on every goddamn show that we talk about Star Wars, I'm not a Star Wars fan. I haven't had a ton of time to really even think about this movie. I don't really care to think about it all that much. This is the 9th or 11th Star Wars movie that I've seen.
Yeah.
I still don't care about the entire franchise. Nothing registers for me. Nothing makes me excited about watching these movies. They just overall have a really silly tone. There's no weight to anything. I just don't connect with any of these characters. I don't mean to bash it. I'm sure a lot of people there's millions of people that love these movies. It never has registered for me. It's never clicked. I probably need to go back and watch the original 3 from the 70s and then watch the prequels and then watch these so that I have like a better memory of everything, because having watched them at different points in my life, nothing is stuck. Overall, I guess it's somewhat entertaining. Some of the reveals seem like they're big things in the universe. I don't know. I felt like I was watching The Force Awakens again, though, because the whole plot of those dark ships that are planet destroyers, that was basically the Death Star in the first thing that I saw.
It's always a planet destroying thing.
It's always like these like planet destroying things, and they got to like go in and knock out like a little tower or some bullshit. I don't know. It just seems like the same thing over and over. Well, maybe this makes me a hypocrite because maybe Marvel is the same thing. But at least with Marvel, I like the characters. Like none of these characters are funny for me. No one's really all that entertaining. No one grabs me. No one's that charismatic. I don't know. That's what I got.
Look, I appreciate the honesty, and I think it's important to have a wide range of Star Wars fans, viewers, when talking about this movie, because I've heard everything. Everybody has a different reaction to. I love this. I hate this. Yes.
One more thing is, I am not the guy to talk to this about, because I know that I don't. I know that I don't appreciate it, and I know that I don't really care about any of the minor details. So. Yeah. My opinion on this is very, very peripheral.
You know, a structure of a film and what good filmmaking and storytelling and
it's
sense
fine.
is.
I guess it's fine, but it's so based on having cared about the other stuff that I don't care about the other stuff. I don't really care what happens.
All right, let's swing all the way to the other end of the spectrum to our guest, Dr. Adam Morris, who you heard on our Star Wars special. Adam Morris, after all this is happening, you watch this movie, you come out of the theater, where is your head?
So I've only seen it once. I need to see it again, I think, to really digest everything, because it does swing back and forth between a lot of different plot points, a lot of different planets, a lot of different things. Characters switch their motivations fairly quickly. Like there's a lot to deal with. Overall, I found it entertaining. I think certain things like that lightsaber battle on the water was incredible. I liked the Rey character much more in this one. That said, I think a lot of the characters became really unlikable, like Finn. Poe was not really super likable to me either. And now he's like the general of the entire thing. And anyway, I don't know. It was a lot to digest. But again, I think overall I did enjoy it. Again, I'll give you my score and rankings and all that stuff later.
We'll do that at the end. Yes.
We do that at the end now.
Yes.
I know. But I do, I do think there was a lot to like in it, but there was, you have to accept a lot of plot contrivances and things that don't really make a lot of sense to really enjoy it.
When you guys are done with your initial thoughts, I have a first question, so
okay,
throw that out there.
Ruggs,
yeah.
Same question. Opening thoughts once the movie ended. What did you think?
Well, the minute it was over, I was like, "This is a fucking mess."
Yeah,
right. That's the first thing. I mean,
shit.
That, but it wasn't all bad.
Yeah,
like there were things that were entertaining. There were moments that were great. There was some intriguing things going on, but it was just so sloppy. It's like, I don't know. It's like getting a bowl of nachos that somebody had already fucked around with. It was like shit was everywhere. Like, and like, you know, like things, some shit was soggy, some shit was still crispy. There was just shit everywhere.
Would you call it McClunky?
It was pretty fucking McClunky.
Very McClunky, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I could see how a person with no investment, like a younger kid who doesn't really analyze movies and just goes to be entertained, could be entertained by this film.
Yeah.
Or a person who's in that mind frame that I'm just going to go turn off my brain, not give a shit, watch a movie and not be overly critical. couple of my friends were like, I was talking to them about this. They're like, well, you analyze everything. You hate everything on purpose. And I'm like, well, that's true. Because I'm a critic and I consider myself to be a critic because I don't look at things anymore to have fun sometimes. I look at things to see what are they doing? Does this make sense? Cause like at one point in my life, I wanted to write movies.
Yeah.
And I have to ask myself that question when I'm writing and things like that.
Well, stuff should make sense, no?
Yeah. So when I see that, like, not only is it so apparently bad that I can't like stop thinking about it while I'm watching the movie.
Yeah.
And I find it distracting, but that everyone's telling me not to acknowledge it. I get very pissed off about that.
Yeah.
All right. Because I'm like, all right, now you're asking me to not think and not be critical in any way when I'm watching a movie. So yes, there's people who love this movie. They're out there.
Yeah.
There's people who fucking hate this movie with every fiber of their being.
Yep.
And then there's me.
There's people in between.
I understand the undertaking that J.J. Abrams had coming out of The Last Jedi to make this movie.
Yeah.
And how he was trying to please fans. He was trying to get whatever his vision was in there. And he was trying to like work with what was there. And in order to work with what was there, he had to like make some decisions, cut some things loose and all of that stuff. And at the end of the day, the ultimate failure is on Disney themselves for not planning it properly.
Yeah. Totally.
So I think so I don't hate this movie.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a freaking mess and it was done so poorly. And if you want, I could explain everything that they did wrong. But
we'll get into that.
Yeah. But I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah.
I could always post it somewhere and they can read it.
But I could see how some people are just happy there's a Star Wars movie and they can enjoy that.
Right.
So I could see that. So my own experience, I saw this right away. And, the first time I watched this movie, boy, it fucked me up, dude. I came out of there going, what the fuck? The whole time of this movie, this is what it's going in my head.
What? Get the fuck out of here.
Just over and over again, every scene. I'm like, what? And literally the next day I was late for work. I didn't know what fucking day of the week it was. It fucked me up so much. I left the movie the first time just exhausted and confused. And, I was kind of bored watching the movie and underwhelmed and disappointed. I'm like, wow, Star Wars, what happened? I had to see it again. I did go see it again. And now knowing all the crazy shit that happens in the first 40 minutes, I enjoyed it a teeny tiny bit better because I realized all Star Wars movies have plot holes and thin characters and it's just the ride. And Ruggs, you're right. At the end of the day, Disney should have planned this, but at the other end of the day, J.J. Abrams had a near impossible task trying to save this. And really what Disney wants to do is just hold on to the fans and sell fucking toys. Make sure you guys don't go anywhere. We're going to keep Star Wars safe so you keep coming back so we can continue to milk this shit for the next 20 years. So I think he kind of achieved that corporate end of the fucking movie, but it's to the sacrifice of like storytelling and cuts and edits making sense and a lot of just crazy shit crammed in there. So yeah, it's a rough one. Anthony, question. Oh, these are questions.
And I have so many questions.
Okay.
But, I'll save my more pointed questions later. I guess the first question is what crazy shit happened in the first 40 minutes or what stuff happened that nullified The Last Jedi?
There's a lot of stuff that undoes things from Last Jedi and even from Force Awakens. Who wants to name a few? The first,
what was fixed? What was fixed, apparently?
The first one, just right in the opening crawl that says the dead speak, announcing that the Emperor's back when this is clearly they're shoehorned. They're making this up.
Rian Johnson wanted Kylo Ren to be the bad guy.
Yes. And
the unredeemable bad guy. Or maybe he does get redeemed, but then they end up to kill him. That was what he wanted to go for.
Mm-hmm.
And so to put another bad guy back, he killed Snoke to get rid of that bad guy so he could ascend to being the big badass. So all of a sudden, first thing in the opening crawl, they say, okay, the Emperor's back. So now all of a sudden, Kylo Ren is now a second banana.
They don't show us, they just tell us.
Okay, so then that actually leads in. Sorry, real quick. That actually leads into the question I was originally going to ask, but I was saving, which didn't make a lot. I was really having trouble with because I remembered The Last Jedi. They basically, at that point, by the end of Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, by the end of those two movies, for me, it seemed like they were teasing Kylo Ren turning, and they made him like they like doubled down, like no, he's really bad. No, he's really really bad in the Last Jedi. Like he kills Snoke for selfish reasons, not for anything altruistic, and he kills his father in the Force Awakens. So I thought by the end of this, I'm like, oh, he's the bad guy. So like his flip to becoming, spoiler alert, good,
yes,
so quickly towards the end, towards like the middle, it just didn't work for me.
I think the Emperor was always part of JJ's plan, but yeah, as Rug Boy said, I think
that makes more sense that Rian Johnson wanted him to be the bad guy.
Yeah, but again, if you look at Snoke as a character, right, he only seems a hologram in the first one, presumably because his clone body was still in process. But like that's the reason he has all those holes and shit in him, right? Like he's not fully formed, and they're cloning him on this like ghetto planet instead of at Camino, where the clones were always.
And there was
made.
more of them.
But the Emperor was always big into cloning and creating life, like in the backstories and everything else. That was his thing. So I think he was part of JJ's plan, but yeah, Rian Johnson really threw that like out the window to try and make him the new make Kylo the new Darth Vader. But that wasn't JJ's intention. So
Adam, you called it in our Star Wars special. You're like, I think we're going to see Snokes in jars. And that's what we fucking got. There was like 2 more Snokes in this fucking lab that came out of nowhere. Ian McDiarmid had actually asked George Lucas after Return of the Jedi, is the Emperor dead, George? And George is like, yeah. He's dead for real. You don't got to worry about it. That's all.
Yeah, but again, like, there's the body. But like again, if you go into the backstories of stuff, like Darth Plagueis, who was Palpatine's master, the Emperor's master, his whole goal in the his entire story is to cheat death.
Right.
And he turns Palpatine when he's in his like early 40s, and then Palpatine absorbs all that knowledge too. And once he learns as much as he can, then he kills his master. So again, he knows everything about how to cheat death. The Sith have known for thousands of years. So
can I ruin the movie now?
Of course.
But there is premise for like again they're being they can't become Force ghosts, but their essence can live. But they need a new vessel. But like again, the problem is if that vessel that they're taking over is like a cloned body or a non-Force sensitive person, they burn it out real fast.
So it's not
because the dark side is super powerful and it just burns through the person's physiology.
Is he in his like decomposing corpse body still? Like I didn't understand that.
I'm assuming that was some kind of a clone
being held up by a machine and tubes.
But it's an imperfect clone that they probably have to replace constantly because he just burns through it.
So basically, there's no killing the Emperor, and this whole movie is
never die.
Pointless. So if that's true,
is he going to come back again then?
How do you kill him? You don't kill him. So this whole movie doesn't need to happen. Thank you, and let's go home.
Well, no, because he put himself back into like a visceral body, and then presumably Rey like vaporized his actual like his Sith spirit, like or something like that. Like again, it's kind of like
we know that because
no, you don't. But again, it's like how the Jedi have to kind of like accept they're about to die and kind of before they become one with the Force and then become ghosts. If they're not ready for that death, the Sith can't like have their essence travel to another
But
body.
see, all this needs to be in the movies. Had they had a plan, they could have set this up from Force Awakens.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about Star Wars, but that's a lot of mental gymnastics.
No, if you read all the comic books, you figure this out.
It is a lot to assume that people would understand, but like that's why Obi-Wan in the original Star Wars holds his lightsaber up and lets Darth Vader kill him because he's like becoming one with the Force and he goes right. But anyway, it's not intuitive by any means. But again, I'm gonna I should have prefaced all this by saying I'm gonna defend some of this stuff. I don't necessarily buy into it.
Yeah,
but I can argue it.
Well, that's the thing. Like you take the guy, you throw him down a shaft, the whole planet explodes.
Yes.
All right, and he's not dead. So lightning kills him, but an entire nuclear explosion that's like the fission enough to destroy something as big as a star.
Somebody saved him before the thing blew up.
I don't think it was the lightning that killed him. It was like the light side of the Force kind of flowing through Rey because she is like the embodiment of all of the Jedi before her.
I interpreted it as that she was a Palpatine, and that's the only way she could kill him.
That actually is an interesting point too. She is blood to him, so I
thought he was dead from what you guys were telling me. So I was also confused.
He was supposed to be dead, but then
it's just really weird. Okay, and just the nature of the Emperor himself is stupid. Like the Emperor. We didn't have to talk about the rest of this movie. I can just talk about this.
Yes,
the whole nature of the Emperor in Return of the Jedi is he's like, Luke, strike me down. You'll become more powerful and you'll become a Sith and he'll live on in him, and he wants to be killed. So why does all this rigmarole to get Rey to just send her a text, tell her to come over? Come on, kill me. And then he wants her to know that if she kills him, she's going to kill him anyway. All he has to do is not say anything, and what he wants will happen. She'll kill him out of anger, and that's it. The whole movie's over.
That was one of my biggest issues at the end. If he had just kept his mouth shut, she would have just offed him right away, and then he would have won.
Well, they explained it real quickly, but it was like, okay, kill me. Okay, you're not going to kill me. Okay, whatever. There's a dyad here now. Yes, I'm going to be the most powerful. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do it. It's like his plan is you want him to kill him, but his plan, if you don't kill him, it doesn't matter because the backup plan is I'm just going to do it.
Well, it changes 3 times. First, he's like, kill the girl. Then he's like, no, have the girl kill me. Then he's like, oh, wait, I'll just kill both of you, and then I'll be stronger. Like, what the fuck is the plan here?
So I took that as that he didn't expect to get them both in the same room at the same time.
How could he not sense all of this if he's the fucking emperor?
But that Force dyad thing is, I think Joe Henry may correct me on this, but it's relatively new to the whole canon. There are light and dark kind of matches within the Force in the history of it all. Again, it tries to balance itself out in some way. I've never seen that presented as a dyad. That was a new thing.
Can I ask one more question? Because I am pulling my Last Jedi memories from this. Wasn't the whole point of the Last Jedi was that Rey's parents didn't matter?
Yes.
Yeah, but Kylo was just telling her that to turn her to the dark side because she had nobody.
But didn't they all? But then what was the point of the movie ending with the Force being in the kids? I still don't understand.
That's what happens when you have no planning between the movies.
Okay. Because this movie makes it seem like the Force is only in the Skywalkers and the Palpatines.
But I do think that one piece does kind of carry forward in one way, in that your history doesn't necessarily dictate who you'll become. She's a Palpatine. She should be the Emperor. So again, these kids that were, sweeping the floor could be Jedi, but that's a stretch. Trust me, I understand.
Thematically over the movies, the first one is like, hey, the past is important, nostalgia. The second one's like, fuck the past, kill it. We're going to go new ways. And then the third one's like, oh no, just kidding. The past is important. Nostalgia. Remember this?
No, but the thing is that it throughout Star Wars, anybody can be a Jedi.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no reason to make a big deal out of it, because if you watch any of the prequels, there's Jedi of all kind. And so that's not really a new thing. And I don't think why Rian Johnson is beating himself off to that. He had this great idea, and I don't think there's a reason that J.J. Abrams would try and kibosh that idea. I think it was just conveniently kind of being like, that's not how I was going to do it, Ryan. And now that I'm back in charge, I'm going to turn it back to what I was going to do. And that was it.
Fair enough. I like the Palpatine twist. That was something that I had in mind quite a long time ago. That was one of the original. It was either Obi-Wan or Palpatine that I thought.
Was that a big twist?
I think so. Okay. But I think
it seemed important, but I didn't really understand.
I've seen many people post this about a couple of years ago when the other movie came out. That
it was a theory. Yeah,
it was a theory. Yeah. So I mean, it was one of the viable theories. It also has some canon to it. Not the canon, but the previous canon that was thrown out in the Legacies had something with the Emperor having children.
Isn't there comics from the 90s that have this whole plot with the hidden Star Destroyers and everything?
Do you want me to talk about this briefly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because there is some presence on this. So first of all, Palpatine doesn't get turned to the dark side until he's in his 40s.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range. He's already kind of an older man. When we meet him in episode 1, The Phantom Menace, that's just after he's during that movie is the time when he kills Darth Plagueis and he actually ascends to be the Sith Master.
Okay.
And then he's been training Darth Maul in secret and brings him in as finally his apprentice kind of thing.
Right.
So there's a lot of time before that, where he could have been, again, he could have had an affair and had a kid and whatever else.
Who fucked that Palpatine? That's what I want to know.
But as we see in these movies, again, he was a powerful politician, right? He wasn't a dark side user. He was manipulating people with his mind, without knowing what he was doing, really, even though he was already kind of evil until Darth Plagueis comes along, and then he's like, no, you're my man. We're gonna rule the galaxy now.
Yeah.
So there is a window in there in his 30s and 40s before he, becomes and even when he is the senator, he could have, fathered a kid that he just was illegitimate or something. But what you're talking about in the canon, so in all the prequel movies, there's an assistant to his left that always stands there, and it's this bald character.
Yeah.
Her name's Sly something.
Okay.
But in the legends, she figures out that he's the Sith Lord, obviously, because she's with him all the time, and she just impregnates herself with his like stored semen.
Oh.
Because he's trying to clone himself, and he's cloning all these other things. So she just like takes it upon herself to create a new Palpatine, and then she hides the son. Actually, he ends up in like a spice mine.
He has 3 eyes, right?
In the books, he does have 3 eyes, yeah, but he ends up in a spice mine, because again, she obviously wants to conceal the fact that he exists from the Emperor, which doesn't make sense because the Emperor is so powerful. He
should know. He should be able to sense all this shit.
But again, those are my two kind of possibilities. There is still like an idea that perhaps again, either before the fact he could have fathered a child, and again, the timeline kind of works out if his kid had Rey in his 30s or early 40s.
But Anakin fucked, the princess and had kids. Like, doesn't it matter? It doesn't really matter if you're a Sith or it doesn't matter. You could just.
No, you can have kids. I'm just talking about the timeline wise. Like it does actually line up that either somewhere just prior to the Phantom Menace, or kind of during the Phantom Menace, kind of in Clone Wars.
So they're pulling stuff from the old canon, even though they said it's not canon anymore. They're slowly kind of like sucking it in.
I wish they'd used more of it because it would have been more coherent.
And I think Rey Kenobi would have been a fucking nice reveal. You guys, let's take a quick break here before maybe we could talk about something we liked about Star Wars. But before that, I got a fun little thing here. One of the networks we're part of, the Danger Entertainment Network, this year did a Secret Santa podcast program where every podcast on the network got another podcast to send something to. We had one and somebody had us, and I have it here. I haven't opened it yet. We're going to open this live on the show. It comes from Cleveland, Ohio. So, it's got to be good. Oh, there's a box. Here's another box. What could this be? I will have to apologize to our Secret Santa. It's the Weeby Geeks podcast. I sent them something, but they're going to get it about 3 days after Christmas because I'm a dumbass and don't know how to tell time. We have gotten Secret Santa. Oh, from your Secret Santa. It is History of Bad Ideas podcast, the Hobie Boys, and it is a box full of Pez.
Hey, I like Pez.
This just Pez, and then there's a game in here. It's called Story Stacks, the game of shared storytelling. Oh, that's kind of fun. 2 to 6 players. And we can play this on the show. And a shitload of Pez. I got to get a Pez dispenser. That's a lot of fun. Thank you, History of Bad Ideas podcast. They have a whole thing where they get Pez from their listeners. Like people send them bags of Pez for some reason.
I used to love Pez.
But do you have any classic Pez dispensers, Anthony?
I don't have the Pez dispensers.
Those things are collectible too, man. You can fucking make some money. I had a Spider-Man one. I'm going to get another one. So if anybody wants some Pez, send me your address. I'll mail you some Pez. I don't know. I'll email you some Pez. Anyways, with that, let's take a quick break right here. We'll be right back with more Rise of Skywalker right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Forgive the interruption, but I believe this requires your attention.
If you ever believed Captain America was on the U.S. Olympic soccer team.
If you ever thought that the Winter Soldier was that brace yourselves guy on the internet.
And if you ever wondered just what would a raccoon do with a machine gun.
Then don't let another week pass you by without tuning into
Mighty Marvel Geeks.
Mighty Marvel Geeks is your show about all things Marvel.
With news, rumors, commentary, and interviews.
As well as our weekly recommendations on what to pick up on New Comic Book Day.
Official consulting hours are between 8 and 5 every other Thursday.
That's Mighty Marvel Geeks on WeebyGeeks.net, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts.
Check out what's been going on with the Pop Culture Cosmos Show and the PCC Multiverse.
That is by far my favorite because it's also character driven and the stakes are high and there's much more of a mystery and intrigue to it.
A game like Wolfenstein, which people are saying are one of the most socially important video games of the past 10 years.
Catch our shows on radio worldwide 7 days a week or at any time on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on over 30 more podcast outlets.
Hi, everybody. I'm RJ Metzger.
And I'm Rachel Metzger.
And we're the Skeptical Skeptics.
Each week we talk about all the crazy things in the world, ranging from the paranormal to Bigfoot to UFOs.
And we look at it from the perspective of the believer, the skeptic, and everything in between.
So come check us out on the MSC Podcast Network.
Or go to skepticalskeptics.com and follow us at SkepSkepPod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Jock and Nerd.
Listener, if you've been enjoying the show, join our fan club. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon. And for a monthly donation, you'll be helping us out. You keep us podcasting, and you get a bunch of stuff. Check out the tiers, everything from stickers, t-shirts. Everyone gets a bonus RSS feed with exclusive bonus Jock and Nerd content, early access to the shows, all our instant reactions. Thank you guys for sending in instant reactions, Anthony and Ruggs. They're all up there. And sports show, Jock Talk, lots of fun stuff. Join the fan club, jockandnerd.com/Patreon. I really want to pick apart this movie, and there's stuff that comes out of nowhere, stuff that doesn't make sense, huge reveals throughout the movie, and then huge things they just don't care to answer. But can we just say some good things? What worked? I want to know what you guys thought of the Carrie Fisher footage they used and how they incorporated Jedi Master Leia into this story.
When you watch it a second time, you do notice that it was like written around all this.
It's kind of like, based on what she said, this is the line they had to give the other person.
What can we do?
There's a lot of back of the head shots and stuff. Yeah, and
I was trying to figure out how they crafted her dialogue around the story.
Well, some of the stuff they had shot for the movie initially with Colin Trevorrow, and then that hug with her and Ray, she's there, that's a new hug. But it works out to about 8 minutes. But I thought it was kind of a fitting send off, and it sucks that she passed away because I feel like the first Force Awakens was Han's movie. Last Jedi was Luke's movie. This was going to be Leia's movie. She was
kind of is.
Yeah.
They said that straight up that it would be her. She would be the one.
She was going to be the Last Jedi, the actual Last Jedi.
Yeah, I think the only place it was the most noticeable and that it actually impacted the movie a lot was that connection she had with Kylo Ren when she was turning him back.
Yeah. You don't see her.
I really expected more instead of her just saying Kylo or Ben. And then dying. You
couldn't really get more.
I understood, but you know what I mean? That was, I think that's the place where it was the most noticeable that she
Did she also send Han's memory to Ben, or was that just him?
I think that's possible, but I think really it was supposed to be his conscience.
It's just Ben, yeah.
It's his conscience.
That was a great cameo. I didn't know. I guess I should have expected. I didn't know we would see Han Solo one last time.
I thought it was a nice scene.
Yeah.
Look, you got limited footage. You got to make it work with what you have. And I think that, yes, you can tell that they completely sandwiched the dialogue to fit whatever she was going to say, whatever. But you know what? They did it. So, and it worked to a point where, okay, when you watch it, you notice it, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I wonder, years from now, people watch this and be like, why does she look all weird? That may come up. I've heard.
The only point I kind of saw where they the back of the headshots for sure, but where I really noticed it was photoshopped in is the young Luke.
Oh, in that little flashback scene.
They use the helmets to expertly hide the fact that they were digitally remastering young faces onto these bodies.
I love that.
I kind of like that too.
I liked it. No, I understand. I was like, oh, that's definitely
for sure
added in.
It looked like it looked at the same digital thing they used for Rogue One.
Where you saw her. It was similar. But Adam, let me ask you, how important was that to see? First of all, you see Leia training in a flashback, and then you see Leia actually become Rey's Jedi Master. Is this in the comics anywhere? Does this happen?
Oh yeah, Leia's a full out, and it's in the novels.
I would have loved to see her as a full out fucking Jedi.
Oh yeah, she becomes a full Jedi Master and trains her own. She trains with Luke and then trains the Jedi Academy with him. She has kids in the books that are become powerful Jedi, and then one of them turns. Yada yada yada. There's a lot to it. Again, Joe Henry's way more knowledgeable about the books than I am, but she becomes a serious badass, and this seems like that little scene they showed was right after Return of the Jedi, right? That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was probably a few years later because she's trained up, but yeah, I know. I think it's good to see. Again, you know that she made a choice to turn away from it, but that also didn't make a lot of sense to me that she decided right at the end to be like, nah.
I saw a thing about a thing. I'm going to put this down.
Because, yeah, again, I mean, Luke's living evidence that the visions that you see sometimes don't come true.
Don't come true. Yeah. I will also say, in terms of good things, I thought some of the action was good. The spectacle, when they show you the spectacle, is not bad. The speeder chase is pretty good. The lightsaber battle on top of the Death Star, with the ocean around them.
That was incredible.
Yeah, some good stuff, but I don't know how much of it is going to stick with me later. I don't know how memorable any of the action is.
I found that to be creative.
Yeah.
The battle in terms of setting.
Yeah.
But honestly, by that point, I was like, how many times am I going to watch Kylo Ren and Rey battle with lightsabers and not do anything cool? Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Bing, bing, bing. Like they're sword fighting every time. What's different other than the setting?
Nothing, but
Nothing.
But it's people fighting with laser swords in a cool environment. So
I guess.
I mean, you got to have it to a certain degree.
I know you got to have it, but I'm
it's
just
got to be something
I guess
memorable.
This is the lack of like my Star Wars care is just like, how many times can you see people hitting each other with lightsabers? At least like in Marvels, you have the different interaction of powers.
Okay, but at the same time, how many times do you see people shooting at each other with machine guns in gangster movies and stuff? Right? It's the same. It's
they die,
the
though.
same contrivance.
Yeah, but they actually die.
Fair enough. It is rough. It is rough. It is rough when there's only two characters. Like at least in the prequels and stuff, there was a bunch of Jedi that got killed for sure. Okay, that makes sense.
I don't mind the lightsaber battles at all. Besides the spectacle and all this other stuff, that's good. I think that everybody came and put their A game in.
The cast was good.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, Ben Solo was great, or Kylo Ren, whatever you want to call him. Daisy Ridley friggin' was great too. There were some shots.
By far her best performance of the three movies for sure.
Yeah, some shots like
her.
She was doing 3 or 4 emotions at once, and you could see her thinking it through. And so I think that she tried. Everybody tried.
They did the best with what they had.
Yeah, they did a quality performance. It wasn't, and they brought a lot to the characters that they had very little to do. Some of these characters, like Finn and Poe, had very little to do.
Yeah.
And
really little.
So on that Death Star lightsaber fight, like the thing, like Finn becomes a really annoying character during that phase of the movie, right? Because he's just chasing Rey, and it's like, what are you going to do, you idiot? Like
I gotta tell you something, Rey.
But he's standing on the corner of this like piece of metal while there's waves the size of mountains crashing across it. These characters are backflipping over these waves and stuff, and he's like, I gotta go help her. I gotta go help her. It's like, no, you're done, dude. Just like just
from the layman's point of view, it seemed like the whole idea was, we need to be together. No, you can't do it alone. We need to be together.
Yes, back and forth.
Wait, don't separate. We need to go there together.
We're gonna do it alone together.
The whole thing was like, we need to be like a little family. We need to be a family. We need to go out and do this together. Don't do it by yourself. We need to be a family. Wait, you can only do it by yourself.
well, this is jumping ahead quite a lot in Emron's notes, but like Finn's big secret.
Yes. Wait, let me ask Anthony. What did you think Finn was trying to tell Rey?
Wait, what was the secret?
Well, what did you think? What did you think he was trying to tell her?
There was two points where they're like,
I know
dying.
he was like in the quicksand.
He keeps going. I was trying to tell Rey something. He never tells her.
What is the secret? You
didn't have any. You couldn't guess.
No. What? I don't even pay attention to Star Wars. What would I say? What do I think? The only thing I could think of was like, you're Luke's father or something. I don't know, like something stupid.
I thought he was gonna say, Finn, I'm in love with you, because they completely ignored like the Rose Finn thing, and it seemed like he was pining after her. And I'm like, none of this makes sense.
No.
He was pining after the new
Jana,
girl
the other stormtrooper,
which was like super ridiculous that they just met within like 3 scenes ago, and he's already like,
yes. So, Adam, J.J. Abrams.
What was the secret?
J.J. Abrams has went out and told. First of all, it's never.
Answer the question. What did he tell her?
I will. We're going to get there. I just want to say that whenever a director comes out after a movie and has to do interviews explaining everything, it's never a good sign. This was one of the things he explained. Adam Morris, what was he trying to tell her?
So in my mind, there's no way that they're like in love. I think that's too cliche, and also it doesn't match up with their history. I think he's force sensitive. And he was trying to say, like, I can feel everything that you were doing, because first of all, he actually held his own with a lightsaber in the first movie, which, it's obviously it's just a stick, but I think that's an indicator. But also at some point in this movie, he feels her when she dies off. Right?
Yeah, she's always
because he looks up and says Ray, like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I think I think moving forward, there's going to be a John Boyega movie where he's
force sensitive.
What did he ever tell her?
No.
Really?
No.
Yes, he never
Oh my
said
God.
anything.
Number one, it's not a big secret. Like, if you watch the movie, you could totally see him like reading the Force and feeling the Force at the same time. There's like multiple shots of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why are they hiding it and not revealing it and let it? Like, it's like, okay, so they should have said it. Like, why not? Like, what's the big deal? It's not really like we're having this conversation because we have to, but I'm just like, oh, he's Force sensitive. That's it. That's what he's trying to tell her.
That's what he's trying to tell her for sure.
I didn't pick up on that the first time.
Oh, yeah, well.
So the whole thing with Finn is like they've wasted so much potential because look, a bunch of stormtroopers that deserted, that flipped. That's a really interesting idea. Now you have a guy who was a stormtrooper that flipped and he's fucking Force sensitive. That's a really interesting idea. None of this is explored in any of these fucking movies. No. They just drop it.
I mentioned it before this. We reviewed this that I thought he had the more interesting story over Rey, and I still think the more interesting potential was him.
Yeah, they turned him into a really like the Last Jedi. He was a fucking useless character. He went on that mission that went
on a
nowhere.
Side quest. Yeah.
If anything, they actually fucked things up worse during that side mission in that movie. So he wasn't, useful. And then this one, he's chasing Rey around like a little kid. Again, obviously in both movies, he has a key kind of role that actually does do something good for the Resistance. But it's like, they just turned him from, like you said, a really fascinating kind of backstory into a generic like plot contrivance,
Yeah, for me, it seemed like they made him almost interchangeable with Poe. I couldn't recognize the difference in their characters other than their skin color.
Yeah.
Poe's
what's the difference? They're both doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They literally turned Poe directly into Han Solo by making him a spice smuggler,
right?
Too, right? So.
Yeah. Oh, that's what the spice smuggler. Yeah, Poe's supposed to be Han, but then Kylo Ren is also kind of like Han.
I feel like Finn is more like a Han, right? Because he was the bad guy turned good, where Poe is. I don't know. Poe's just Poe. I don't know what the fuck Poe is. I don't even know what are his defining characteristics. I don't even know.
He's kind of a dick.
He can't be trusted with plans.
Nobody tell him what the plan is, and he likes to argue and bicker.
And he he flirts with the girl.
I did like the light speed skipping. We'd never seen that before, and it seemed very irresponsible. And like you could have ended up inside of a planet, but he didn't.
You know what that scene is? It's the Guardians of the Galaxy
Yes,
scene.
when they were jumping around.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, that's a good point.
A lot of this is lifted from Marvel.
There's a lot of Marvel moments in this movie. How about the on your left moment?
The light speed skipping was cool, but I have no idea where that came from. I've never seen that or anything in the.
There's an on your left moment at the end when the cavalry shows up, and then there's even a I am Iron Man fucking moment at the end where she's like, I'm all the Jedi. I'm like, really? Another thing I didn't appreciate about the plot is it does the thing that Aquaman did. It's a silly video game plot where you have to find the ship to get a clue, to find the dagger, to find the guy who knows where the planet is, to find the thing, to find the other thing.
Yeah, but in Aquaman, it actually matters that they find the thing.
This
movie doesn't matter. They don't need to do any of this.
No.
First of all, scene one, Kylo Ren goes to see the Emperor. Kill her. Bring me to her. Kylo Ren should just be like, hey, listen, I know where the Emperor is. Let's go kill him.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, there's no need for, or either that, or they're connected with at the mind so much that they could pass shit to each other. They can read each other's thoughts, but she can't like be like, oh, he knows where the fucking Emperor is. I can't, for some reason, he's clouded that from my mind.
And also he can't tell where she is. He should know where she is.
That's part of the contrivance is that they can see each other, but they can never see where each other are.
They can see. He's sensing the most intimate of thoughts of hers.
Yeah.
Things that whatever thing he's looking to my mind. You see that it's true and that I know about your upbringing and this like so it's just so weird that it's contrived that she can't either number one glean where the Emperor is right off the bat by having. I mean, if they're talking to each other to the point where they're passing shit around and they're grabbing stuff off of each other and he can tell where she is. All that stuff.
That was crazy. I don't know if it was kind of a neat moment at the end where he's up against the Knights of Ren and they're seeing each other and she gives him the lightsaber. But
teleportation
I didn't mind that at all. I just don't like the inconsistency of it.
The teleportation ability does exist in the canon.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, it's relatively rare, but there are people that could either transport themselves or things certain distances.
That was crazy. That's new on screen.
But again, given that they're this dyad thing, I think that's what they're giving.
They're connected, yes.
But that's also, I don't know if you guys have read anything about this, probably not. But the part of the backstory now is that's why Rey is so good at everything, because in that moment in the Force Awakens where Kylo is trying to break into her mind, she actually breaks into his mind because they're this dyad in the Force, and that's how she knows how to do the mind tricks. That's why she can fight with a lightsaber.
What exactly is a dyad?
It just means that they're a match in the Force. They create a powerful
together. They need each other. They work off each other.
Like a dyad is it's a power term. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but yeah, it's just a link. But going into the backstory, apparently that's what they've now said is that's what JJ always wanted, was that's why people were so pissed off in the first one. She was so good at it, right? She was what's the term again?
The Mary
Sue.
Dude, she's super Mary Sue in this one. She's a fucking super Jedi.
She can do anything.
I wanted to talk about some of the new Force powers we see on screen. That Force connection, passing things through being one, and the Force healing, I don't think we've ever seen in live action. I'm not spoiling anything. Yes. I'm not going to spoil anything for The Mandalorian because Anthony hasn't caught up yet. So we can't talk about that.
I think you just spoiled it.
He does it. Well, yeah, thank you. But Baby Yoda does heal the Mando in like the second or third episode too.
Oh, he does do that before. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and in the canon, there is a ton of, like, back in the day when there was like hundreds of thousands of Jedi, there were healers, there were knights, there was knowledge holders, there was teachers.
Lucas
they had very
games
specific.
Too.
Yeah, absolutely. There are. Yeah,
in
exactly.
Video games, you can force heal yourself. Yeah.
But that's a fairly well established thing. So
that, like, I'm not mad at any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't like the inconsistency of when they can do, like, for example, I'll throw one out right now. Kylo Ren and Rey, they fight over a freighter with their Force powers.
Yeah.
2 seconds later, Rey's getting away. You could bring that ship down. He just showed us you could bring that other ship down. So they use it when they feel like when the writers need him to do something. And then they don't never use them properly.
Again, I always explain that stuff away in my head, like she is counteracting his own Force powers herself as they're flying away, kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Again, she is actively, even if they don't show her like forcing it away, she's her abilities itself are kind of a deterrent to that. But again, that's me explaining things away.
I mean, I don't understand, like, on Kijimi, where he shows up, he senses she's there, he comes down to the planet as she goes up, and, like, you don't know where she is. Like, you had to have the helmet. I thought it was cool when the helmet fell, and he's like, oh, that's where you are. But you couldn't, she's right there. You can't fucking feel her. You're like, she's not far.
It is very inconsistent in terms of where they can feel or know each other, like, in terms of the locations in particular, for sure.
Also, I thought that moment where they're playing tug of war with the ship and she force lightnings the fucking ship, which is usually something left for like the Sith and Dark Jedis. I feel like this movie, Rey and Ben, they both have a light side and a dark side within them, obviously, because of their lineage and the way they flip. So
the lightning is an interesting power. Like, again, it's not really a dark side thing only.
Okay.
Again, in the history, it's just once you have a certain understanding of the Force, you can take it basically out of the air and manifest it as a physical
blast
thing.
Everything.
Because, the Force pushes and the lifting and all that stuff is just you kind of using the Force to lift or displace things.
Yeah.
Whereas with the lightning, you're using the Force and channeling it through yourself to create like a power. So again, in the canon history, there is a point where Luke does that. The trick is that if you keep using it, because obviously it's inherently bad because you're frying somebody to death, or blowing something up. As she says, she lost control, right? So that's the main thing. The Jedi don't typically use it because it leads to the dark side.
It's damaging, yes.
Because it forces you to like tap into the higher level of that power, and you're using it for power, not for control or anything else, So, but there were a few Jedi Masters in the history of the Jedi Order that like could force lightning things. And Yoda presumably could, but he just didn't because he was afraid of being turned to the dark side afterwards, right? So
that leads to the fake out deaths. I did not appreciate all the fake out deaths of Chewie and kind of 3PO also. They just reverse everything. What'd you guys think of that? Did you think Chewbacca was dead the first time he was on another transport?
It just is odd to me that, okay, in the scene prior to that, they're all looking out the window. They could see Rey standing there.
Yeah.
Even Chewbacca can see where she is. Then he goes out of the ship and she has no idea where she is. And then he gets caught by the Knights of Ren, who, by the way, never do shit in this movie.
Who the fuck were the Knights of Ren?
So, sticking with the Chewie thing for a minute, no, I never thought he was dead, because I don't think they would kill off the last
off screen like that. Yeah,
it was totally. It was a fake out, but they would have been nice if they would have showed the other freighter.
Right?
Yes.
That was like, what other transport?
They might have shown it, but it's so fast, you miss it.
No, you definitely miss it.
Yeah, it was on the ground, but it was never in the air. And then the same thing with the 3PO, like, it's kind of a sad moment when he has to wipe himself. But I don't understand why 3PO could read the dagger. He knows where it is, but he can't tell you what it says. Who the fuck programmed this shit?
Well, I can kind of throw that out there, because obviously Anakin, like, C-3PO has knowledge of like every language in the galaxy, right? So Anakin probably, when he was a kid, must have found an old droid and like taken the memory bank out of it to use it. Like he was a kid when he built him, right? So he's not.
No one updated 3PO in this fucking last 40 years?
Maybe, but again, but he would have had all this shit programmed into his head, and there was a point in Star Wars history where the Sith were actually an active contributor to the galaxy.
Sure,
like they came from a certain planet. Before they were like turned and they all became kind of evil, they were actually just a part of the Republic. Not the Republic, but they were part of the galactic kind of construct. So it would have made sense that you would have a droid that could speak their language. But again, that was in the canon, that would be like thousands of years beforehand. So where Anakin got that circuit board, yada, 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 who knows? But the fact that C-3PO can speak thousands of languages anyway, I don't find it that far-fetched that he has a backlog of like a Sith language. But why he couldn't, why Anakin would program it in that he couldn't talk about it, that makes no sense.
It does not make any sense. Anthony, another thing they redid from The Last Jedi is from Luke when he shows up right away. Two things. He catches the lightsaber. It's that last movie. He threw it over his shoulder saying, none of this matters. And now he's like, oh, I was wrong. This is all important. Sorry. I'm an idiot. Keep this lightsaber. You're going to need it.
This needs to be treated with more respect.
Yeah. Well, why the fuck did you throw the shit over your shoulder in the last movie?
By the way, that whole scene didn't need to happen.
I think that was clearly a slap in the face to Rian Johnson. That's all it was, I think. Right?
I think the scene was written so they could get Luke involved somehow, but the scene doesn't need to happen because Rey gets into Kylo Ren's ship. And if you look at like the last place that he was on the ship's computer, it'll tell you exactly where the Emperor is, and you don't need to do anything.
Plus, it was confusing that she went all the way back to Octu and burned it. I wish they threw up some fucking captions as to what planet you were on because it kept jumping around. It was so rushed.
They showed the porgs, so I think that was the.
It's a porg, but come on, throw a fucking word up there. Throw a little name. Is that going to kill you?
That part made no sense to me though. Even after finding out that she had this vision that she was going to be the Sith Queen or whatever.
Yeah. The brief dark Rey.
She was going to go do exactly the same fucking thing that Luke did, where he basically destroyed the Resistance. Like if he was with the Resistance that entire time, none of this might have happened, right? So. It
really
makes no logical sense.
It was like three movies shoved into once. Her fighting her dark self was cool, but it was so short. It really had nothing to do with anything.
I wanted to see that elongated a little bit with the double-ended lightsaber and her fighting like her doppelganger. That would have been a neat.
Yeah. And yet there still feels like huge things are missing and were cut and there's no explanation. So where else? What else? Any other what the fuck moments? There's so many what the fuck moments.
Sorry, going back.
I got 1,000.
Give me one.
Well, you had the Knights of Ren.
What the fuck was the point of the Knights of Ren? We didn't even see their faces or who they were or what they did or anything.
That was a thing? I didn't even know that was supposed to be a thing.
People were waiting for it to be a thing.
So I'm assuming, again, like Luke says very specifically in the one scene in The Last Jedi, I think, like Kylo takes some of the apprentices with him. Right, so I'm assuming they're the ex-Jedi apprentices.
Okay.
And then probably him and Snoke recruited a couple other people. But that said, they don't have lightsabers. They don't seem to be force sensitive because they don't do any like force powers. It's not like they're, if they all stood around Kylo in a circle and like were like force pushing him or lifting him or something, you know what I mean? Maybe they could have taken him out, but they didn't. There's no force things from any of them. Yet they have melee weapons. Why do they have like axes and swords and stuff if they're not force sensitive? And like he takes them out instantly as soon as he gets the lightsaber in his hand. So
so they were never even a problem.
With a blaster and the lightsaber.
So I don't know. The visuals were cool with them, and they were teased all the way through the movies. I really expected a much more.
Hey, read the comic book; it'll fill in the gaps.
Oh yeah, I'm a little behind in some of the comics.
I prefer the Knights of Stimpy.
Knights of Stimpy. Man, Stimpy, where's the lightsaber? You idiot! Grab the lightsaber. Look, I jokingly say that it's because the stuff they left out. I feel like, oh, we're gonna make a book. We're gonna make comics. Maybe season 6 of The Mandalorian will explain some more stuff from this movie. We're just gonna drag this out.
I'd be willing to bet there'd be like a one-shot comic coming out after this of Kylo and the Knights of Ren or something like that, like during his.
They do that a lot though. They hold back stuff to put it in this to sell more shit.
The one-shot comics are actually pretty cool. Like again, it's I like the series are very good, but the one-shots are also interesting fill-ins. But again, they are clearly again tracking it back and doing these like fill-in things with the storylines for that.
Ruggs, what else didn't work for you? What made no sense?
Well, pretty much everything that I don't like about this movie is tied to the Emperor.
Yeah.
I don't know, number one, why, how he created this army, and created these ships.
Yeah, where did he hide 100 Star Destroyers?
Were they hidden under ice?
I guess.
Or was he conjuring them himself and making them like 3D printing them in with his head? I don't know. He has that much power, but 2 lightsabers just take him out. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like there's a whole like Electric Daisy carnival going on with like strobe lights and fog and like a bunch of people.
It's
like
the coolest underground rave ever.
Yeah.
Wait. Is it better?
Who are those guys? What are they doing? Why is there Death Star cannons on every ship? Like what? It's just weird.
Who are all those people in the fucking arena? I did not understand any of that.
None of that's ever explained. It's just there.
I do have more on this. Definitely entertaining again.
Okay, that's why we got you.
So Exegol, the planet that doesn't exist in canon.
It's new.
There's the Sith homeworld is Korriban in the original timeline.
Okay.
And in Korriban, again, there's a race of Sith people. So again, it's they look different, but they're also they're very dark side oriented. The planet itself is strong on the dark side. So, assuming that the Emperor again goes to the outer, and again, it's in the same kind of area. It's in the unknown regions and whatever in the outer rim. So assuming the Emperor, again, had set up some stuff on this planet well ahead of his death, and these were Sith worshippers, and he was the Emperor of the Sith, kind of makes sense. But like, again, you had a whole planet at his disposal to work on these things. That said, when he just kind of like force lifts the entire fleet out of the planet. I'm not sure where that came. That was kind of confusing to me too. Like,
where is that planet?
Where were they built? Were they built?
Who is staffing these ships? Is there a full crew on these 100 Star Destroyers?
Well, again, there's in theory, there's a whole planet of billions of people that have lived in this place forever. Like it's not an abandoned planet. It's just in the outer regions. So they're just these weird dark side worshippers. Which are those people in the black robes around the thing? But again, none of this is explained. Like Korriban or Exegol are never mentioned in any of the backstories. But like again, if you know the books and the history, it made some sense to me. But I could see the people I was with had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Well, if you're watching a movie and you don't have an encyclopedia of Star Wars,
right? No, absolutely.
Yeah. But the thing is like you do see them in the beginning of the movie when Kylo Ren goes there for the first time. And they see you see the jars of Palpatine.
Snoke.
What's his name?
Snoke. Yeah.
And you see Palpatine for the first time. He's connected to that big machine.
Yeah.
I believe, now I refute the point that you think he's a clone because his ends of his fingers are burnt down.
Yeah, he's a corpse.
I think it's a corpse. I think that's the corpse from the original guy because at the end of Jedi, he's frying Vader and Luke as much as he can. And as he throws them, his hands are still going. Like he's got like a water hose. He can't turn it off.
Yeah. That's actually a very good point.
It must have fried his fingers off. Otherwise, why make that detail? So I think it has to be the original.
Doesn't he see his hands grow back as he gets the two of them?
It was more the fact that his face was not fried like the originals. Yeah. But I guess that actually was from the prequels, not necessarily from even the original trilogy. So that's actually a very good point, right, boy?
And like the reason why he's hooked up to a machine, like if he was in a clone, he wouldn't need to be hooked up. Even if it was a clone that was being phased out, whatever, by the power. He wouldn't need to be hooked up to a machine like that, I don't think.
Fair enough. But again, I think that would tie into him having this planet of people ready to kind of retrieve him in an emergency and shit. Again, that goes back into the history of Star Wars. Like he always has backup plans. But that said, that
very
giant,
inconsistent plan.
Yes.
Well, and that Death Star did get and that Death Star did get blown up. So at the very least, he would have been floating through space. Like,
I mean,
we saw Leia fly through space, so we know it can be done.
They could do that.
But again, like I said, if they retrieved his like frozen body from space and then his essence was able to re-enter it or something, I guess that's good
why
enough.
not?
But
My
again,
theory
but
is
that's
this-
actually that's a very good point. I didn't even think about the fact that his hands were fried like that because of that last.
My
scene.
Emperor death theory is that Darth Vader throws him down the shaft.
Yeah.
He goes all the way down the shaft, and then he with his hands blows open like a place, and he's able to land. And then he gets out of the Death Star before it blows up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Possible. Could happen.
That's what I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that Adam Morris has to explain all this stuff
Yes.
to me is just making my head hurt.
This
What
is
is
the
going-
problem with the movie is that he bent over so far backwards the other side after The Last Jedi to undo everything and then make sure everyone just loved this movie by the end. We need you to still buy toys. Please love this. And so you have, your Lando and you have Chewie getting the medal. And I like some of the fan servicey things, but they were just checking off boxes. There was no impact to it.
The Chewie medal made me get a little bit teary-eyed there.
Sure,
though.
some of those things will get you teary-eyed. Yes, yes.
Wait, what medal? What medal? Real
So, okay, let's explain this to Anthony. At the end, Maz Kanata gives Chewbacca Princess Leia's medal. Remember that?
Okay.
So the whole joke goes back to the original end of Star Wars in 1977, where at the end, Princess Leia gives Luke and Han a medal for what they did, and Chewie gets nothing. He's standing right there. And for 40 years, people are like, why didn't Chewie get a fucking medal?
Got it.
They gave him the fucking medal.
I assumed that was Han Solo's medal that she gave him.
I thought she said it was Leia's medal.
Okay.
I thought. I don't know.
Maybe that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Ruggs had something going.
Yeah, I just, if you can count all the times that they could have just cut to Rey and Kylo Ren either going to the Emperor, without having to do any of this stuff, that they had to do all these little missions. There's at least 5 or 6 different instances where they could have just not.
Yes,
like the cone droid.
Yeah, Dio.
He knows exactly where the fucking thing is.
That's right.
It doesn't say shit the whole time.
And Finn was trying to tell Poe, he's like, he knows. That's right. For Dio, who was voiced by J.J. Abrams himself.
And then, okay, so there's so many contrivances.
Yes.
So, like, the Purple Ranger girl that Kerry Russell's playing that looks like
Zori
she's
Bliss. Yes.
Gives Poe the exact thing that he needs. Of
course.
So they could get onto the Imperial cruiser.
I have this coin. You're going to need this because the story.
In 2 scenes,
Yes.
you're going to need this
Yeah.
coin.
That was weird. Yeah, I didn't like that.
I like that it gave him a little bit of backstory, and her costume was cool, but like a completely thin side character.
That was just there
Yeah.
for like just to give that coin.
Yeah. The MacGuffin coin. So many
Apparently,
MacGuffins.
apparently asking the galaxy to help out a second time.
That helps.
Works.
That works. Not the first time. They're like, fuck you.
You know, the last movie when they beamed
Yeah.
the whole signal. They're
Yeah.
like, no.
Nobody's
like,
showing
today we're all gonna show up for some
So
reason.
I took that to be related to the fact that like the legend of Luke Skywalker is spread and like the Resistance fought off the First Order from like a stronghold, and that again Luke was there to fight down the bad guys, but yeah. Again, but you're right. It wasn't just like a few people
were
showed
free
up. They had the entire galaxy show up.
I'm not doing anything today.
Today they just happened to be just hanging out, so they're like, yeah, we'll show up.
But my impression of that was that they saw what happened after the last one. The Empire or the First Order is now expanded, much further and is taking more and more control and killing off planets. So that's what kind of stimulated that sudden.
I mean, it's
support.
kind of a cool moment, and Lando barely does anything. He does
nothing.
He gets
He
to
just
say,
shows
"I have
up.
a bad idea about this," which is Han's line, but he doesn't really do much.
And he got to do the woohoo.
Yeah, he got to do the
you know.
Millennium Falcon cheer, and you see Wedge Antilles was the guy.
I saw that. Yeah.
In the old guy in the Millennium Falcon who was in the first movie.
I caught that one. That was a good little cameo. He looks.
Can we talk about the kiss at the end?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there, and like, first of all, this convoluted. She kills Ben and then brings him back to life, and then the Emperor shoves him over a cliff, but he's not dead. Then she dies, killing the Emperor. Then he brings her back to life, and then he dies. holy fuck. And
but she's not dead.
But she's not dead.
Because if she was dead, she would go to the Force.
She would have been a Force ghost, and she doesn't.
So they keep her.
That's a good point.
Not dead.
That's a good point.
So they could, if she's dead, then she goes to the Force. She's doing the most noble thing. She's killing a Sith.
Yeah, she would have been. She would have been
absorbing
fine.
all the power that she possibly. So she doesn't get the Luke ending where she turns into the Force and her shit
but
falls
notice
off of her.
Kylo also doesn't get to be Force ghost. Well, for some reason he didn't.
Well, you don't know that he could be a Force ghost. He would be a Force ghost at some point because he did dissolve into the Force.
When they were about to kiss, I was like, no, don't do it, don't do it. And then they did.
But that was engineered by Chris Terrio, I guess.
Probably. But I saw your little note in Emron. They're not cousins technically because
did Palpatine create Anakin?
Darth Plagueis, and Palpatine during their experiments and trying to cheat death 10 years prior to the Force or to the Phantom Menace created Anakin. So Plagueis is actually more of his father than Palpatine is.
Fine, I'll allow it.
But there's no DNA transfer. They just use midichlorians to create a person. So it's so there's no blood. There's no actual DNA connection between them. Technically, Palpatine would be his half father, I guess, if you look at it that way. Because they were, but it was an accident. They weren't intentionally doing that. They were just fucking with.
So they're distant kissing cousins.
They were fucking with the fabric of reality.
They're not related.
They're not related.
No, but it does seem when you on the surface, it's wait a second.
It's just emblematic of the problems of this whole trilogy. Is that should have meant something, and I'm not connected with any of these characters this whole time. I can't. It didn't. I know. Ben had kind of a nice redemption coming back, but ultimately then it's just I don't care. It's no impact. There's no connection to it like I had with the original heroes.
But I enjoyed his redemption arc. I thought it was actually somewhat believable that at some
he's
point
more nuanced than Darth Vader, really.
And again, there was no. There's no way he's coming back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They murdered millions or billions of people in the first movie.
Yeah.
We've seen him kill a number of innocent people. So even though he turned to help her. I feel like that whole scene was him admitting that he needs to save her because she's the future of the Jedi, not him. Because even if what's he gonna do? He's gonna show up. He's gonna show up at the new Senate, the new Republic Senate, and be like, "I'm good now." So what we got going on? He can't do that. So I think it was a decent redemption arc. The kiss was weird. I agree. It didn't need to happen.
Let me chime in because the kiss is something I can actually talk about.
There you go.
Because I don't understand what the hell Adam Morris keeps saying.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
Y'all some nerds.
This is my nerdiest of nerding. I'm sorry.
This is super nerdy. The kiss, that was fucking weird.
Yeah.
I thought they were had a brother-sister connection, and at the end, he's consoling her. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's looking into her eyes longingly.
Don't do it.
Oh no. Oh, they're gonna kiss. Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I think
awkward.
that there's a lot of people who wanted that to happen.
Yes.
A lot of them
Really?
are female fans. They really liked Reylo. They people who ship stuff like this. The nerds that are into the ships and stuff like that. That was a huge thing. So they made that's fan service.
This is
I
fancy.
thought it would have fit better with the canon if they'd kept it more of a Luke and Leia kind of relationship, right?
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. They had a brother-sister bond. Not a lover's bond.
I mean, Luke and Leia kissed, but that's before they knew they were related.
That was not. So. Yeah, that wasn't a romantic thing to finish the story.
And it's kind of fun to kiss your sister,
Yeah, kissing cousins. Yeah, why not? The first time, there's something magical there.
You must have an interesting Christmas.
I shouldn't
but
be
someone
doing
you
this.
have a force bond with. No.
Yes.
No,
look, this is again J.J. Abrams bending over backwards, pandering to the lowest common denominator. At times, the movie feels so patronizing that you're like, really? But it's just so super safe and afraid to offend anyone while it's trying to fix what happened in the last movie.
I don't get that vibe at all. I was just confused.
I was just trying to wrap my head around the bad writing and how things don't really do anything.
Yeah.
Here's another example.
Yeah.
So the Emperor decides not to ascend into Rey's body because now since Ben Solo showed up, why would I do that? I could drain your powers and just make myself whole again.
Right.
So he does that. I would have rather been a chick.
Yeah. I'd rather been Rey.
But he drains them both
so
much that he can reform his twisted decayed
And he starts
body.
shooting the ships down.
Yeah.
And they seem to be the most powerful they've ever been after that. They no effect whatsoever. Like that they were completely drained of power.
Ben is not. I mean, he's done for, more or less, right? Like he pulls himself out of that pit by like climbing out. He doesn't force himself out of it.
Yeah. But he has enough to restore someone else to life. But he eventually dies,
but it kills him to do it, right? And I think the only reason she at the end with the two lightsabers has it is because you hear that the other Jedi have kind of come behind her.
So what do we think of that?
But again, that has no premise. That is a new thing.
She's super Jedi.
They all heard Lando calling everybody to come out and fight the Emperor, and so the Jedi ghost just like, let's do it.
So
they just show up.
What did you guys think of that moment when she says all the Jedi? You hear from Sam Jackson as Mace Windu, Frank Oz as Yoda, Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, Freddie Prinze Jr. as Kanan from Rebels, and Ahsoka Tano, Ashley Eckstein from Rebels, other characters from the prequels and the cartoons, essentially saying, I am Iron Man and killing Thanos. That's the other movie.
You can do it.
Whoops. Yes. I mean, it was supposed to be a big moment. What did you think?
I had no problems with it personally. I thought it was I thought it was a good moment. Again, they like I said, in the history of these things, there's a canon of them kind of putting their essence or their powers into a limited time frame to help something happen.
Yeah.
But again, it is very much a Marvel moment for sure.
I don't mind it at all. But it helps when you have something that is the catalyst for that.
Yes.
Like there is a reason why all of a sudden she can connect to these people, not because they just wrote it that way. That like, okay, maybe she learned something along the way on the mission, or maybe she interacted with something along the way that, or was taught something that was by feeling into the Force and unlocking something.
They did tease it earlier in the movie when she was with Leia. She was standing in the forest, right? Trying to connect to, she's saying the same line.
Yes, be with me. Yes, she's trying to connect to the Jedi.
And she's constantly reading Luke's books and clearly like learning new stuff as the movie goes on.
I just thought I didn't mind it either. I just thought the manifestation of it wasn't all that cool. All she does is cross the sabers.
It's just two lightsabers.
And then just reflect them back at him.
Didn't the Emperor learn anything after Mace Windu fried him?
He did that to him in the second movie. It's true. Does not learn.
I fully expected, to be honest, when he reformed himself and he was on the top of the dais there, like by the throne, I thought the two lightsabers were going to shoot out of his sleeves again, and he was going to lightsaber battle them.
Oh shit!
for the end,
that'd be cool.
Well, the Emperor is apparently he's supposed to be a two lightsaber expert. That's his
claim
to fame back in the day.
Double lightsaber.
So I really expected that to be the finale, and I think it would have been cooler to see him kind of kill off Kylo in that way, and then Rey to finish him off.
It would be cool for me. Like thinking if they were going to do a lightsaber battle or something, maybe, or even if she doesn't do the cross swords, where she takes the two swords and fuses them like Darth Maul style.
Yeah, back to back.
And then she fights with a staff. That's her whole thing. And
right.
Or it's like spun them around connected them together and then spun them in a wheel. Like that.
I did like that at the end when she makes her lightsaber. It's part of her staff. She used part of her staff to make a yellow lightsaber. That was kind of cool.
Finally, I thought that staff was going to be a big player in the thing. I thought she was going to make either a Force pike kind of staff or a double-ended lightsaber.
Anthony, did you appreciate the cameo by Warwick Davis as Wicket the Ewok? I knew there was going to be Ewoks in this.
Mad Madigan?
When was that?
At the very end, when the galaxy is rising up, they show a shot of two Ewoks cheering, going, "Yay!"
Doing it in their voice.
It was I mean, you don't hear anything, but it was Warwick Davis.
Oh, okay.
In the suit.
Really, that was his big cameo. He had to strap on the fucking Ewok suit again.
And I am a big fan of Babu Frick. I think Babu Frick should take down Baby Yoda as the cutest thing in Star Wars. He's a great character.
I think he back in the day he would have been smoking a cigarette too while he was doing all that stuff. You know
he absolutely would have. Okay, there's so many things. Let's just jump to before we rate it and rank it. The very last scene, the whole thing with her name, that she's Rey Palpatine, and she goes back to Tatooine, buries Luke's and Leia's lightsaber, and then a random woman just comes up out of nowhere. There's nobody around. There's a random woman with a camel creature goes, "Oh, what's your name?" Ray what? And she might as well have just said, "I'm Ray Star Wars." Ding! But she says Ray Skywalker after seeing the Force ghosts of Leia and Luke. Does this work? What do you guys think? Does this work for anyone? I thought it was a little forced.
Those are the only two people that ever cared for her.
She took their adoptive name, and the Skywalkers, I guess, live on.
I didn't mind it.
You didn't mind it? Okay.
I kind of loved it. And then the double sunset to finish it all off.
Kind of like a New Hope in the beginning. Yeah.
Those are all things, a lot of the things that happen in the movie, I don't mind. Like, I don't mind that at all. Like, people cringed at that. I didn't think it was bad.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was good. Again, it was that last scene where, again, burying the lightsabers by the old Skywalker hut, I think was a nice touch.
I think she's going to start a temple there.
So the Jedis continue.
I think they have to.
She's definitely going to be starting a new Jedi school. Absolutely. That'll be the...
So the title kind of makes sense because I was like, why is it called Rise of Skywalker? And I guess it's because of her at the end.
She's continuing the name.
She's continuing the name and the title. Maybe Jedis are not called
Ben
Skywalkers.
fucked himself over. And
yeah.
He's not.
And like you said, she was the only family she really knew, right? So it made a lot of sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think at the end of the day, look, we haven't talked about Rian Johnson, but we should.
Okay.
And I feel like, and this is all Disney's like failure, because the reason why all of this stuff had to be so convoluted and seemed like it didn't work, which it probably would have worked if it was set up properly.
If they planned anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they had to like rush all of these things in the movie, rush them through, and you have to just go along with it. Like, there's characters in here that didn't need to be here, like the girl on the horse stuff.
So Jana,
they serve no purpose. Like, they're just there because
Jana's Lando's daughter. That's the only
There's
reason
a whole scene they cut probably because I think they wanted to allude to that, but it made no sense because they don't explain it, and she's probably his daughter.
Lando's daughter.
Yeah,
the timeline works out perfectly. If she was kidnapped when she was 2, it would have been again right after the. I read something about this online, but somebody worked it out. Like the timeline works out perfectly.
You take Solo, and you can kind of.
Apparently there was stuff in here, and they cut it out.
It'll be in the extras once we get.
Why did they keep it at 2 hours when they could have probably used another 15 minutes to explain?
She's not Lando's daughter because the movie doesn't tell you that. There's nothing. You're telling me that after doing like mental math. She's not Lando's daughter. Nothing in the movie tells you
there
that.
are moments where they're interacting though. He's looking at her like long, like there is a moment between them where he's like. Look, you can see him considering it in his head, like just being like.
But if you don't know that, he just seems like a creepy old man checking out this film.
Like he's
like, hey, let's figure out. By the way,
I'll go more racist with it.
Yeah.
The only way you can imply that for me is you go, oh, he's an old black guy. That's a young black girl. That must be hers. That must be his.
Of course.
And to get more racist again, it's like, well, obviously the two young black characters are getting together with her and Finn, right? Like, and that's
So Lando has babies all over the universe. Is that what you're saying? It's probably everywhere.
I think Lando probably has like hundreds of kids if you follow his.
Every line he said was so hilarious because he just says it like Billy Dewey.
Well, let's. I don't want to focus on the minutia. I want to hear the Rian Johnson stuff that Rogue Boy was talking about.
For sure. Actually, good call.
Oh, well, the thing is that, okay, so you have J.J. Abrams who gets hired and he's like a fan pleaser, right? So he wants to give the fans what they want. He's trying to figure out how to bring in a new audience. Kathleen Kennedy's like, listen, we got to broaden the fan base. We got to get everyone in on this. All these people, all of these demographics, we need to hit as many things. So we got to put, all these new characters in and they have to kind of carry the baton. So immediately, they start teasing, okay, we're going to have Han Solo in this for this movie. We're going to kill him off. We're going to have Luke at some point. We have Carrie Fisher because she's not doing anything. And so, like, let's do this. Like, let's get the old team back together. Let's introduce a new team. Let's do, like, basically the greatest hits of Star Wars. So he does that. People shit on it because, we've seen this movie before. So then they bring in Rian Johnson. And they're like, they throw away everything JJ said. Listen, we want you to make it different because we got everybody on board. Now we need you to make it different. So he comes in and he starts wiping his ass with everything Star Wars.
Subverts the shit out of it. Yes.
I respect him for doing that in a lot of ways, but I don't understand why, like, what your game plan was. Like,
No.
where do you go from where he left us? So he basically he kills off the big bad that was set up.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the big bad. He makes Kylo Ren the big bad.
Yep.
He, shits on Jedis and wants to burn the whole thing down.
Yep.
And, whatever. And it makes fucking Luke throw the thing over his shoulder.
Rey is nobody.
Rey is nobody.
Yeah.
So all of these things, which is fine. I like that Rey's a nobody.
Yeah.
That Canto bite scene that went nowhere.
Yeah.
It didn't really do. That's another thing. They always have things that they don't have to do
Yes.
to get people places.
Yes.
It's like, how do I get people there
So
and waste everyone's
convoluted.
time?
Yes.
Like, how do I not tell the leader of my fucking army what the plan is so
Yeah.
he gets pissed off and has to do like all of these stupid things that don't need to happen that are just written to happen. Anyway, Rian Johnson and Disney and all of this stuff trying to, now they're at a weird point because people hate, a lot of the fans hated The Last Jedi so much that it was like a thing for years on the internet. So they decided that they get cold feet. Maybe Rian Johnson doesn't want to do it anymore. It's just nobody, whatever. So JJ comes back. And now you have this whole movie that you have to kind of ignore. And you have all of these conflicting things that don't jive together. And you have this movie that is at the end of this 3 parts that is mashed together, probably the worst script writing in all of the movies that we've seen.
Yeah.
Like all of the most improbable stuff, the stuff that makes, I mean, they even talk about the Holdo move and they write that out.
Yeah.
Where you just ram your ship through stuff. Like, oh, we don't do that.
We can't do that.
It's
Can only do that once.
They just conveniently have to write out all this stuff that was set up.
Except for the Force connection between Rey and Ben.
Yeah,
He kept
that's
that
the only
going.
thing that they seem to keep. But then they even put the helmet back together.
Yes, I don't understand why he smashes the helmet. He puts it back
He doesn't
together. What do
need
you
the
do?
helmet. Why does he need the helmet? He doesn't. I think he did. He had the helmet because he was trying to project something. But then now that he is the supreme leader, he's ascended past the Knights of Ren who all wear helmets and that's their thing. We're on a squad, we have to wear the helmets. So like all of those things are like not there anymore, but yet he goes back.
That was just supposed to be a sign of his insecurity, I think, really. But anyway.
But so like a lot of these things and so the essential point is that Disney from the get-go didn't know what they were doing. They didn't sit there and make a 3-arc story and that was going to go together because they wanted to be able to pivot and move around, but don't do that.
Yeah.
Stick to your guns, make something and stick to your artistic vision. Don't pander to people. Don't worry about the fucking fans. If it's great, it'll stand on its own. And they didn't do that. And that is the biggest crime and the biggest letdown of this trilogy is that Disney and the new people who are running Lucasfilm have no faith in the years of fandom and all of the people that wrote all these awesome books and all of this lore that they decided to throw that all out so they could do whatever. But Lucas approved all that stuff. Like all of this was under the umbrella of one dude okaying shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck to his vision. As crazy as his vision is that people think his vision, even the prequel stuff, prequels, their biggest crime is to have shitty actors.
But at least they were about something.
And they're coherent.
They're coherent. It was Anakin's story. Great. You showed us Anakin's story, the original story where Luke's story and the redemption. What was the point of this new sequel trilogy?
It was poor dialogue and again, a young Hayden Christensen who didn't know how to act that ruined that prequel. Those were the only things that
it was a little
really
boring too. But they
should
definitely
cut out some of the politics. But,
I understood Star Wars so much more.
Yeah.
After I saw that, I understand nothing about Star Wars after seeing these 3
No,
movies.
it just contradicts itself.
All right,
it's confusing. So what is the point of this?
They had Jar Jar Binks was the biggest problem and the acting. Those are the things that kind of really weigh that movie down.
So, in Jeremy John's review, he stated it best as this movie had 2 setups, but J.J. Abrams sets up a movie in the first movie.
Totally.
Rian Johnson is like, oh, fuck you. Here's the setup. And so there's no way you can finish a movie with a third part where you have 2 setups and there's no way to tie it all together. This was an impossible task to begin with, and he barely gets it done.
I think that he did the best he could.
Yes. Yep.
To make it make sense, it would have either had to be JJ all the way through.
Yeah. One guy all the way through.
Or JJ and then Rian Johnson for the last 2 movies.
Yeah.
And they did neither of those.
No, but again, they produced something again. Like I said, I thought, to go back a little bit, like the Last Jedi, as I said in our last review, like was a completely serviceable movie in and of itself, but it doesn't make sense to be the center of a trilogy.
In this, if it was if removed from this, it probably would have been would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, it was a cool movie. Again, there's some cool shit in there. It revealed some cool things. There was some interesting character development, but like it wasn't the movie it needed to be to produce a trilogy of movies.
Rise of Skywalker makes me appreciate that movie a little bit more.
I think out of these three, that's the best one.
Let's rank these. So? All right, let's do it.
I don't know. I would love to see Snoke have survived that movie and then have the Emperor just appear behind him or something. And
I'm just talking about filmmaking. I'm just talking straight filmmaking and acting and all of that stuff.
It was the best thought out of the three movies, but again,
they're all terrible because they're all
it stands on its own. It's not a part of a trilogy. That's my that's my criticism of it.
No, you're right. You're 100% right about that. As a part of a trilogy, it basically takes the trilogy and throws it on the ground and shits on it.
It's a disaster as a part of a trilogy, but as a standalone movie, if you watch it on its own, I enjoy it.
If you watch it as just a film and like filmmaking and like the way it's shot and the acting,
the storytelling is way better than in this movie.
There is a little bit of a tonal shift with some of the comedy.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like in this movie, the comedy all works in the tone.
So it wasn't even that funny though. This movie barely had any humor. Like it was, I
found the Poe humor a bit annoying, to be honest, rather than being like a lightning moment. I found it to be a bit like crass and just kind of like out of place. You know what I mean?
Let me make a quick comment on the humor.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the reason, like, Marvel gets a lot of shit, but Marvel kind of does it better than Star Wars has ever done it in these films. None of these characters are particularly funny or charismatic or anything. Like, the only character I was laughing at was CP3PO a little bit.
C3PO was kind of funny.
And the little motherfucker, the little fixer. Frick. Yeah, but it's just like silly.
Yeah.
Like, it's just silly for the sake of being silly. There's no like real cleverness or anything. There's no witty dialogue. I don't know. It doesn't make me, the humor helps me ingratiate myself to the characters, right? Because like if you can laugh with someone, then you care. I never really laugh with any of these characters. And especially the whole tone is too zany for me to even care.
And this one, it seemed like there was just a lot of one-line scenes. They were just throwing out one-liners, these characters, just for no reason.
It seemed like that first scene when they land the Millennium Falcon and it's all fried.
Yeah.
And they were trying to do the Marvel thing where they're all throwing quippy dialogue at each other. Right from the beginning, I'm like,
it's on fire. It's all on fire.
It doesn't work. You could have killed us. Well, we landed. Oh, but it's on fire. But it's okay, right?
Even 3PO got a little bit repetitive for me. He kept, we get it, 3PO. They're not they don't know, they're not paying attention to you.
Yes. Just, Poe Dameron doesn't like it and he's not paying attention to you.
We get it. Usually the humor hits a little bit more, but I agree with Anthony. It didn't do anything for me.
One of the things that I always loved about Star Wars, and even in the original, and you could hear it when George Lucas talks about it, is he loved Japanese samurai movies.
Yeah. Yes.
And he loved the spirituality and the tone of it. And that's where he kind of like, he tried to make the Force like an Eastern type of a religious, power, you know?
Yeah.
And there's spirituality. You have to like get your center and you have to abandon the things that you love. You have to be completely selfless to be good in the Force. And then if you're selfish and you just care about what you want, you become dark and all of these like things. And then they did go into it in the cartoons, in the animated series, a lot about, about having to be focused and training and all that stuff. And I find that shit fascinating.
Yeah. The animated series are amazing for that kind of stuff. They really explore that back story
But why isn't it in the movies?
I know, make the movie like that. What are you doing?
Why is all of this interesting stuff that like Marvel doesn't have? This is what Marvel doesn't have.
Yeah.
Why aren't the writers from the Clone Wars cartoons
Dave
and Rebels
Filoni to write a movie?
Like that's what I would do if I was going to write Star Wars. Is I would explore that. One of the things that now I'm going to do like a little bit of a rug down here, but like, here's the rundown. Like, how would Rug Boy like envision the next phase of Star Wars after Jedi?
What's the future, Rugs?
Okay, it's if I'm writing after Jedi, so obviously we start with the destruction of the Imperial forces, but there's still probably units out there. There's still probably a little bit of the remnants of them out there.
Sure.
So, obviously Han Solo and the Rebels and all that, they'll go out and stamp those out. Maybe Luke will go out with a couple of missions and do some shit and get it all settled up. But at the end of the day, he's got to set up a new Jedi Order, right? He's got nobody to talk to about this. He's on his own to try and figure out what the Jedi is, right? So this is where I think we could do something and have everybody kind of think about it and be able to associate with it. Is you start a new Jedi Order, but like once the kids get to a certain age, they have fucking hormones. They want to fuck, and they can't because they're in the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
And and he doesn't have a whole order and all of this stuff behind him, these pimples and this great timeline behind him to kind of back him up. So he's trying. He doesn't even know if he believes it either. And so it could be that thing where it's once the kids get to a certain age, just like everything else, they rebel and they want to be. And so maybe on one of these missions where they're trying to stamp out with the remnants, they encounter somebody that tempts them. And then there's a schism.
Yeah.
And it's that. It doesn't have to be like the Emperor.
I like it.
It doesn't have to be. And it could be like something that we all can feel. It's just something visceral inside of us. That we want to have love. We want to have a family. We want to have these things. And we can't have that if we're Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I like it.
There is context for a lot of this stuff that you're saying in the backstory. Is like
yeah, but they don't use it.
No, like passion.
They don't use it.
Passion is a Sith trait, right? And like, but again, I think, moving forward, I think they have to explore the fact that again, there's gray Jedi. That's
gray Jedi.
And maybe Luke figures out that's the new kind of Jedi. Maybe he does burn the past down by creating this new kind of Jedi that can have, like, I always I make it a parallel to the Catholic Church.
Yep.
Like, you have to be religious and you have to have
that's
this
exactly
thing.
what it is. It makes sense.
Yeah. But then also there's a schism in the religion, and also these other religions allow the priests to have families.
It's hypocritical at the same time. Yes.
And the branches of Catholicism where the priests are allowed to have families have a lot less fucking pedophilia.
You make it relevant. That's how you make it relevant. You don't make it relevant by just throwing X character to appeal to a cis demographic.
Well, like I said, in the old school canon, like, there are points where, because Luke is masterless for a long time, and he's learning from these texts, and that's why he ends up force lightning somebody to death by accident, I believe, in the story, and that's why he figures out he can do it. But you don't necessarily need to be all good and all evil. Again, that gray zone is where we all live in, and that's the most interesting part of it all. But like, again, it's good to have the very good and the very bad characters for sure. But like,
what they do is they boil it down to just good and evil.
Yeah, binary.
There's no nuance to it. There's nothing that we can even we don't have to get like in a nitty gritty. We could just kind of allude to that stuff, and we can make that connection where, oh yeah, they're talking about the Catholic religion or religion in general, or something like that. That there is a way to be both, to love whatever.
Yeah, but it never made sense to me why in the original canon that like the Jedi were priests and they weren't allowed to have families and shit. Like again, it's an old school thing on Lucas's part where he made it so much connected to religion. But it's those monks
in Asia, like in the Himalayas, they abandoned everything.
Yeah,
that's how they
talking.
Yeah, that's true for sure.
I mean, I think the future is clearly it's going to be on Disney Plus. I think this franchise needs to rest on the big screen. They don't have another movie planned or a director or a creative team yet. Let it fucking sit for a while. We will be seeing Mandalorian seasons and Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan on Disney Plus and other things. That's fine.
I cannot wait to see that Obi-Wan series.
I think that'll be tight. But here, let's wrap it up here. Anthony, give me a rating for this movie and rank it if you want. You don't have to. You clearly don't give a shit about the franchise, so it's fine.
But
as a movie,
shit.
What would you rate this?
I'll go 5.
Oh, snap.
So very neutral.
Oh, yeah.
Very neutral, not bad, not good, just kind of there.
Yeah.
And then I'll rank it within
the trilogy.
Sure. I'll rank it. Well, you know what? I'll rank it within the 5 that have come out since Disney. 4. I'll go 4.
Wait,
fourth.
4 from the bottom?
So it's the fourth word. It's the first fourth best movie.
Fourth
out of
fourth
five.
best.
Four
Okay,
out of five.
so at the bottom.
So I would have Rogue One number 1,
yes.
Force Awakens 2, Solo 3, this 4, and then Last Jedi 5.
Oh, you put
Wow,
Last
you ranked
Jedi.
it
You put it
below
above
Solo.
Last Jedi and below Solo.
I really I thought Solo was a much, but here's my perspective. Solo is a much easier movie for me to engage with as a fan that doesn't know shit
The
about
whole
anything.
story's right there for you.
I think that
makes a lot of
Solo
sense.
makes more sense as a movie.
Yes, it does. It does. Ruggs,
It does make sense. Yeah.
Ruggs, give me a number and rank it however you want.
Oh, I'll probably do like a closer to a 6, like a 5.9 or a 5.8 or something like that.
Damn.
Because I didn't think this was a good movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was a terrible movie, but I think that what it needed to do, it did, and it was entertaining at least.
Yeah.
It was almost too entertaining. It was like it could have used some room to breathe.
Yeah.
So I could see like being a 5 is like you could love it or hate it. That's like that non. You don't know exactly. I feel like I liked it a little bit. I liked things about it a little bit, but so I'll give it that little extra. So it's still like a not quite a 6.
Where does it land in this new sequel trilogy of movies for you? If you had to rank,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ranking it's kind of tough.
Like I think it's the bottom.
Yeah.
Because The Last Jedi is a better film just because not that I like anything that he did in that film really, but I just think that the acting was good in that film. The film made sense as far as like cinematography, and there was less like there was some really bold moves being done here, but there wasn't so much contrivances. Like there's too many contrivances in this movie.
Yeah.
So whenever you get a lot of plot contrivances and the bad writing, that trumps everything I might not like about a movie. That makes it even worse. So
good point. And Dr. Adam Morris, give me a number. What would you rate this?
I give it a solid C. 6.5 out of 10, I think, is where I put it.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, enjoyable, but a lot to digest and a lot to put together. I did put together a bit of a ranking of the entire 9 movie trilogy.
Give it to me quick.
Empire Strikes Back, obviously number 1. Return of the Jedi would be my second. Again, this is all based on my life experience, obviously. Revenge of the Sith is one of my favorites. New Hope. And then Rise of Skywalker and Force Awakens, I think, kind of flip-flop in that middle zone. They're dead center. They're right in the middle. I think both of them are basically the same movie. Then a Phantom Menace. Then a Phantom Menace. Then Last Jedi. Then Last is Clone Wars. So that's my 9 movie.
Attack of the Clones.
My 9 movie.
Okay.
Sorry, Attack of the Clones, not Clone Wars. Yes, but that's my 9 movie.
you really hate that movie, huh?
You know what? Goddamn, Hayden Christensen really needed to take some lessons before he
fucking Hayden.
That's his acting pretty much kills that movie, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. There's so many good scenes in that, but yeah, that scene on Naboo. Oh, the sand is so coarse and gets everywhere. Like, come on. He's not even a bad actor. It was just that he was young and
George can't write fucking dialogue either. Lucas is bad with dialogue.
Directed to act like that, and it toasted his entire career. And I feel so bad for the guy, but anyway, that's still where it sits.
I mean, Star Wars has ruined lots of careers in the past. Like Natalie Portman had trouble coming back. Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks, almost fucking committed suicide. Jake Lloyd too was getting so much shit after the first movie. Like every movie, and then Rose Tran here, or Rose Tico, or Kelly Tran.
Jake Lloyd now looks like he lives in a trailer somewhere. Like he doesn't all look good.
We didn't even talk about Rose Tico.
They sidelined the shit out of her.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we'll just put her in the background. She had like 1 line, 2 lines. What was she? And
I found that to be kind of tasteless, actually.
Yeah. They went so far.
They went so. I mean, like
the other way.
Have a little balls. Like there's clearly she wasn't a great character in the second one, but have a little balls. Like
there's a lot of cowardly stuff in this movie just to appease something to make it.
Yeah,
make everyone like it.
She should have probably been the one with Finn on that mission when he went to go take out the massive Star Destroyer for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, just I mean, have a little like don't just completely cave to the internet. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, that's what happened.
Oh shit!
I will give this movie. I was a 6.5. It's a 6.5 for me too. It's just kind of shocking and a little disappointing. This is the way Star Wars ends. I feel like years from now, if you watch it, I will be more forgivable of all the fucking bullshit and logic jumps and force stuff in here.
It'll be an interesting like documentary if someone like an independent company makes it, like everyone's thoughts on how this was, because I was reading some articles in the build up to this, and like for whatever reason, a lot of the actors were just like bashing The Last Jedi in their public interviews leading up to building this film. It's like, why are you doing this?
Just shut your
why
mouth.
are you guys doing like? Don't bash the previous film to build up the hype for this film.
It's the same franchise. You could toe the fucking line.
I don't know. It's just a very weird trilogy.
You had the guy who played Finn say that he's never coming back for Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, some people, it fucks up their careers and their life so much that they're like, "This is."
It's just a weird like dichotomy between like most of the people that work with Marvel are like, "Yeah, we'll come back." Other than like dude from the second one, the villain, what's his name? No, not the Whiplash guy. What was that character?
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke is like, there's like a couple guys that are like, I'll never work with Marvel again. But even like Natalie Portman was like, I'll never work with them again. I'm coming back.
She's coming back. Yes.
It's just a weird dichotomy in experiences of between working with Star Wars crews or working with the Marvel.
I mean, I think that's the only other good thing this movie does is now we're done with the fucking Skywalker saga and we can move on. Show me some other shit. We can get past this. It kind of needed to. So maybe in this next year, this next decade, Disney can.
It's not over. They're
it's not over. There will be Star Wars for another 20 years. As far as my ranking, that's out of the newest. That's one of the least favorite out of the new movies. It makes me like Last Jedi a little bit more after watching this because at least it wasn't that incoherent. So I mean, Rogue One. Still the best of the new stuff. Give me more stuff like Rogue One and Mandalorian. I know that's still it is safe. It's still corporate. It's in the past, but for some reason it works for me.
I hope Baby Yoda to go somewhere. I hope there's some kind of
that's the other thing. By the time this show posts, listener, you will have seen the season finale of Mandalorian. We'll find out what the fuck Baby Yoda really means and whether Babu Frick can kick his ass.
I'd like to see Baby Yoda say something like a curse word.
That'd be great.
I know Anthony didn't watch that last episode, but goddamn, there was some shit in there where it was like, okay, it's not as clear cut as you think.
Jedi. Yeah.
All right.
It got better, so I'm really
I enjoyed The Mandalorian.
The last two episodes again with the ragtag team in the last one,
the prison break and
and then now again he's reaching out to different people in the galaxy in this new episode. Like, again, I think it's going in a good direction. So we'll see.
Will he take his helmet off?
I really trust Favreau.
Give Favreau a movie. Maybe he should do the movies. Let's do some news from the nation real quick. See what our listeners think of Star Wars.
It's time for news from the nation.
It's time for news from the nation. Nothing in the chamber, Rugs?
Oh, forgot about that.
First time ever.
First time. Okay.
Hey, keeping you on your toes, motherfuckers.
Well, whatever. Okay, no, this time he's clean. Listener, join our Facebook group. It's called Jock and Nerd Nation. It's closed, exclusive group just for you to hang out with all of our fans. We're in there. Here's some hot takes about the movie from our listeners. Kate DM says, fast take. Loved Ren's story arc, laughed, cried, cheered, want to see it again. Now to overanalyze and figure out what I didn't like, but very happy with number 9. She liked it. Bill Vincent went in with no expectations. It got me, enjoyed it, left feeling like JJ did another nostalgia porn piece and somehow a copy of Return of the Jedi. It's exactly what he did. Nostalgia porn. And it was a lot like...
There was so many parts that were just out of Jedi.
Yeah, there's a lot of the similar things.
When Rey looks up to strike me down, whatever... She looks up and all of her friends are dying. And
where there's the Emperor battle on the planet, and then there's a space battle, the same parallel, a lot of the same shit, except no fun song like the Nub Nub song. I heard they took that out too, which I'm very mad that they took out the whole Ewok song at the end of Return of the Jedi. It's my favorite part of the movie. David Zika saw it, loved it. Not saying it's the best one, but I'm very satisfied. There is balance in the Force. Nunya Mikael says, fuck Disney.
Fuck that show.
Tell us what you really think, Nunya. Lenny Romero, I didn't like it. Keith Foster comments, Star Wars Episode 9. We've been ad-libbing this thing the whole time.
Pretty much.
Yes, also accurate. Irving De La Cruz says, I enjoyed it. Yeah, they added some new things to it, but overall they covered a lot of ground in 2.5 hours or less. Ray O'Neill, Poe is fucking Nick Miller from New Girl, which is that's pretty good. I didn't even think about that. If you watch New Girl, he's totally Nick Miller. Chris Marin enjoyed it, loved how it ignores The Last Jedi, or waves it off with the likes of a single "I was wrong" line from Luke, and no mention of the Force kids at the end of The Last Jedi. It's easily on par with The Force Awakens for me, maybe better. Overall, I thought it was a fun movie. I like the new Force powers. I really like how both Rey and Ben Circle completed. I place this somewhere in the middle, definitely above The Last Jedi, Attack of the Clones, and The Phantom Menace. Need to watch it again.
See, they're looking at the broad strokes.
So people, and they seem to like it when they look at the broad strokes.
It's very wide dichotomy.
Yes. I've heard, yes, even from Star Wars fans, everyone has a different opinion.
I said that, though, at the beginning of the review. I said, you're a guy that goes in there just to turn off your brain and watch a movie and not really think about it too much. You're gonna probably get the feels. There's definitely good acting and that Han Solo part and the Leia part. They all get you in the feels, like here and there. So
again, the Harrison Ford part was surprisingly well acted. Like, again, it's not like he didn't call it in. Like, he really did actually seem to care, you know?
He was there.
Yeah.
Okay, well done. We have one last thing in a Felty League update. We got to find out who wins.
Here's the National Felty League update.
Fantasy football, I think this is. Here's Chaz Hubbard letting us in on the action.
What's up, nerds? It's Chaz Hubbard here with your final National Felty League update. The playoffs have concluded. The second annual season of the National Felty League is over, and it ended pretty much the same way. Our winner this year, again, defending his throne, was Matthew Lawrence.
Oh, wow. Shit.
As his Game of Thrones team beat Jess Rivera's Chicago Web Slingers team in the championship. Also making the podium, Ray O'Neill's Sinister Nine team beat Blake Braden's Gardner Minshew's Mustache team for third place. That is it for the National Felty League this year. Thanks for playing, nerds.
Jockey Nerd.
There you go.
Wow, Matthew Lawrence wins again. First of all, it's amazing that
Send
this
him
is
another shirt.
You want another shirt, Matthew? I don't know what to give you this time.
The winner gets a shirt.
Matthew Lawrence, you get to pick another shirt or whatever you want from the store.
Yeah.
Pick one thing from the store. Yeah, you can collect them all. There you go. Congratulations. And I just think it's crazy. This is like the second annual Felty League fucking fantasy football thing.
So many things.
I'm glad you guys had fun doing that. I let you just do all that. I don't really care.
Let them?
I let them. I mean, I let you guys run it. I don't have I got nothing to invest in.
What did you do to let them do that?
I played the clip on the show.
Okay.
Emperor Imran allowed it. It's all good.
I was pulling the strings the whole time. Yes, you let the hate flow through you. Thanks for Chaz for giving us the updates. Dr. Adam Morris, thanks for joining us. It's very important to have your follow-up after our Star Wars special. I'm glad we got to get your thoughts on the movie.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I love being on the show, and I'm sorry I kept trying to talk over Rug Boy there during that one segment.
It's all right. Everyone's really excited.
But it means a lot to me that you guys have me on, especially for these episodes where it's not super science oriented.
Absolutely.
But I got a lot of science related stuff in the pipe, and I hope we'll get some of those episodes going soon too. So
you didn't have a plug last time. You still don't have anything to plug? When you want to plug anything?
Hey, again, my Twitter account is pretty much all I need, and it's fine.
Didn't you make one for the show?
I did. It's at King Ad Rock.
There you go. Yeah, I like that.
So you can an old school Beastie Boys reference for my
that's right
friends in our age range.
Ruggs, where can the listener find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ReallyRugBoy.
Also, check out the show notes for this episode, listenerjockandnerd.com/308. Has links to everything we talk about, how to get in touch with the show, how to give us ratings on Apple Podcast. We're at 106. We're trying to get to 200. Then we will apply to Rotten Tomatoes, and then our opinions will affect the tomato meter. That would be crazy. This is a dream of mine, of ours.
Do it.
Help us.
Do it.
Help us. See, everybody wants this. Help us fulfill our dream.
I just did the Emperor.
Do it. Yes. Thanks for listening to the show. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the jock.
He's the nerd.
We'll peep you next time.
Let's do it.
Is that a Wookiee?
That's supposed to be his week, I know. I don't know, it's still weak.
Is that a Wookiee underwater?
Get the fuck out.
I'm trying.